ठीक है
जी अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, आपका क्या हाल है?
जी ठीक ठाक
Hello, bonjour, salam alaikum. This is Anthony
ठीक
Rhoda, Member of Parliament for Nipissing-Timiskaming and Speaker of the House of Commons. Although I can't be with you today, I wanted to share a message with you. Bonjour à vous tous. Même si je ne peux pas être avec vous aujourd'hui, je tenais à vous adresser. I'm delighted with your participation in the science fair created in honor of Dr. Abdus Salam, the first Muslim Nobel laureate. Considering a subject that interests us, making a science, then researching and experimenting is the basis of all great discoveries in our world. Taking part in a science fair gives us all the opportunity to acquire new knowledge, to develop an interest in research, but also to meet like-minded people. Personally, I like to be around people who are curious, who love to learn, and that is why I encourage you to question yourself, question others, and to find answers to those questions through science. In this way, you will become thoughtful adults and informed citizens. J'aime aussi être entouré de personnes curieuses qui aiment apprendre, et c'est pourquoi je vous encourage à continuer à vous interroger et à trouver des réponses à ce que les autres disent et aux questions à travers la science. De cette façon, vous deviendrez des adultes réfléchis et des citoyens évolués. I would like to congratulate all the participants in this event. I'm sure you will come away with new ideas for years to come. I also congratulate the winners of the 4 categories. You have impressed the judges with your projects, and you should be very proud of yourselves. I know we're very proud of you. Je vous remercie de votre invitation et je vous souhaite une excellente remise de prix aujourd'hui. I thank you for your invitation and I wish you a great awards ceremony today. Good luck to everyone. Shukran.
Hello, this is Sean Chen, Member of Parliament for Scarborough North, and I'm so delighted to bring greetings on this wonderful occasion of the 13th Abdus Salam Science Fair's virtual awards ceremony. Science helps explain the world around us, and it explains how things work, which is why I am so delighted to be part of a government that values science and evidence-based decision-making. This science fair has been an opportunity for young scientists and learners to explore the incredible worlds of science and technology. I congratulate each and every one of you, our future scientists and leaders, for your efforts and your wonderful accomplishments. I congratulate the award winners and all those who participated, because learning is so important in how we contribute to making the world a better place. I would like to thank the organizers, the teachers, and all the volunteers for their incredible contributions. And once again, congratulations to all our young future leaders for your invaluable work. Thank you once again, and I wish you much continued success.
I'm John McKay, the Member of Parliament for Scarborough-Guildwood. I'm very pleased to offer my greetings to the organizers and participants in the 13 Abdus Salam Science Fair's Virtual Awards ceremony. I don't have to tell you that technological change is occurring at a pace unprecedented in human history. In order for Canada to be able to compete in the global economy, the work of people in the STEM fields has become more important than ever. Particularly in this time of pandemic, we've been incredibly fortunate and grateful for the work of scientists who have developed the COVID-19 vaccines at an extraordinary pace. My thanks to the organizers of this event and to all the students submitting their projects. Keep up the great work. Thank you.
I'm Pam DeMoff, the Member of Parliament for Oakville North Burlington, and it's my pleasure to extend greetings to all those students participating in the 13th Annual Abdus Salam Science Fair. Science is so important, and as you're seeing during the pandemic with the development of vaccines in record time, the value that scientists bring not only to our community and our country, but to the entire world. So to all the students who are taking part today, I extend my thanks and gratitude for you really embracing science. Your projects will be amazing, I have no doubt, and thank you for what you are doing to advance science in our communities.
Do you want to go to space, improve the environment, cure diseases like cancer or heart disease, or stop pandemics like COVID? I'm Greg McLean, Member of Parliament for Calgary Centre. Today's young scientists can change our world in all these ways and more, and it all starts with science. That's why I want to say best wishes to all those participating in this year's Abdus Salam Science Fair. The skills that you are going to develop will help you throughout your life. These are the same skills that have led to so many transformative discoveries. There is a scientific basis to the innovations that improve our lives, from life-saving medical treatment to safer transportation or the computers and phones that connect us around the world. But there are many problems left to solve, and that's where you come in. If there's something you want to make better or a dream you want to realize, science can help. Abdus Salam won the Nobel Prize in Physics, the most prestigious award for physics in the world. Such an accomplishment exemplifies not only great intelligence, but the virtues of all great scientists, such as curiosity, creativity, discipline, and persistence. Science fairs are a chance for you to develop those same virtues which are applicable in all walks of life. I wish all the participants and organizers of the Abdus Salam Science Fair the best with this year's event, and I look forward to learning which projects capture the honors.
Hello and welcome to the 13th Abdus Salam Science Fair's virtual awards ceremony. My name is Joyce Murray and I'm the Member of Parliament for Vancouver Quadra and Canada's Minister of Digital Government. We're here today to celebrate your amazing work, whether you're a participant, award winner, or an organizer. You are the future of the generation of researchers, academics, and high achievers of tomorrow. Science fairs play a very important role in encouraging your curiosity, creativity, and understanding. I'd like to recognize all the girls who are involved in this year's science fair. Today's event enables each of us to continue to stand up and address the barriers that have prevented women and girls from having equal participation in STEM. Your presence here today is very significant. Tonight is a night to be proud of your efforts and achievements. Congratulations and enjoy the celebrations.
Hello everyone, my name is Majid Johari, the Member of Parliament for Richmond Hill and Markham. Hosted by Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, The Abdus Salam Science Fair is a great opportunity for children to experience, discover, and have fun with the exciting world of science and technology. It proves a platform for students to exhibit their skills, ideas, aspirations, and win prizes. This year, due to the current pandemic situation, the science fairs would be held virtually. I used to be an engineer, and I've been loving science activities like this growing up. The science fair is open to all students from grade 5 to grade 12, and I encourage all students to participate safely from home, try out your science idea, and most importantly, have fun in this competition. Thank you to all the staff and volunteers for hosting the science fair, and I wish all students the best of luck. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Matheson. I'm the Member of Parliament for London Fanshawe. I just wanted to congratulate all the entrants to the Abdus Salam Science Fair. This is very exciting. Of course, the advancement, the critical thinking skills, that scientific research that you learn by doing these projects will stay with you forever, because it's that desire to find out how things work, why they work the way they do, and that's truly such a wonderful expedition, and I'm so excited for all of you to be taking part in this really great activity and event. I know that this year it's a bit different because it's virtual, but I'm so glad that you're able to have this opportunity. I want to thank the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat community for helping to support this wonderful initiative. And I know that seeking of knowledge is key to the beliefs of Islam and the practice of Islam. So I wish you the best of luck to all the potential winners, but to everybody who's taking part today. Congratulations.
I am pleased to extend greetings to everyone participating in the 13th Abdus Salam Science Fair. Today's event is a great opportunity for students to showcase their skills and creativity in the fields of science and technology. Thank you to the event organizers for providing a virtual platform for youth to display their work, stay connected with their peers, and find inspiration. Our future looks bright because of young leaders who are adopting innovative solutions and research discoveries that will improve our quality of life today and for generations to come. Congratulations to all the award winners. I wish each of you all the best on your journey.
Hello, my name is Laura May Lindo. I am the MPP for Kitchener Centre, and I am so excited to say congratulations. It is the 13th Abdus Salam Science Fair, and I am so proud of all of you young people who have dedicated yourselves, your time, and your energy, even during a pandemic, for the science fair. You are our future, and I am so proud of each and every one of you. So congratulations to all of the winners. Congratulations to all of you who are attending this wonderful ceremony. And I cannot wait to celebrate next year's 14th ceremony, hopefully in person this time. Have a good one, and congratulations again.
Hi everyone, this is Dolly Begum, your Member of Provincial Parliament for Scarborough Southwest. To all the young scientists participating in the Abdus Salam Science Fair today, congratulations. This science fair represents something incredibly special because this is about breaking barriers. Starting with the fact that it is in commemoration of the contributions of Nobel laureate Dr. Abdus Salam in the field of science. Science education is a path to personal empowerment. But not only that, it's also a way to see the truth of the world and a way to make this world a better and more equitable place for everyone. For all of you working hard on your projects, I encourage you to take this as an opportunity to know that what you're doing today is going to be needed more than ever tomorrow. You have a big responsibility, and I applaud you for your hard work, and I hope that you enjoy this incredible opportunity.
Hello, I'm Don Mitchell, Mayor of Whitby. Thank you for the opportunity to bring my greetings and best wishes for your science fair. This is a great way to encourage our youth to experience and discover the excitement of science and technology. The great scientist Carl Sagan called it a candle in the dark. And we all face the threat of dark times ahead, and only science can guide us through those times to a better future for all. My best wishes to all participants, and enjoy the ceremony. Thank you.
Hi, this is Jim Diodati from Niagara Falls City Hall, and I'd like to welcome you to the 2021 Abdus Salam Science Fair Virtual Awards Ceremony. This is a 13-year-old tradition in Canada, and I'd like to offer congratulations to all of the entrants this year. It's a great platform to showcase your creativity and ingenuity. This year, you had to be even more creative and submit by video. You're the leaders of tomorrow, and I applaud you. Good luck and best wishes.
Hi, I'm Mayor Jeff Lehman, and it's a pleasure for me to bring greetings on behalf of the City of Barrie and Barrie City Council to you, the contestants, organizers, and ultimately the winners at the Abdus Salam Science Fair. This is a 13-year tradition supporting that quest for knowledge that grade 5 to 12 students engage in when you create a science fair project, when you research, when you create a hypothesis, when you experiment to try and broaden your scientific understanding. And it takes innovation, and it takes a sense of determination and entrepreneurship, self-starters who complete these projects and do the work that you've done over the past many weeks or months to prepare for this event. Also, of course, congratulations to the winners whose excellence in project work is being recognized today. And I want to thank the organizers of this event for your continued commitment to the thirst for scientific knowledge and the expansion and energy of our understanding of science among young people. Thank you to everyone involved, and congratulations again to the winners.
Hello everyone, this is Han Dong, Member of Parliament for Damali North. I would like to extend my best wishes for all participants and organizers of the 13th Abdus Salam Science Fair for a very successful event. Science is one of the oldest and most important academic disciplines, and it covers a wide variety of subjects. It helps our understanding of the world around us. Everything we know about the universe is the result of scientific research and experiments. Human progress throughout history has largely rested on the advance in science, and students of science have contributed greatly in shaping our modern world. Abdus Salam Science Fair has been a great platform for all of you to demonstrate your skills, your ideas, and aspirations. Moreover, at the science fair, you would get an opportunity to learn from other science enthusiasts for inspiration. It will be a wonderful learning process for everyone. I am so excited to see so many innovative projects submitted this year, and I would like you to know that your friends and your family and the entire community is extremely proud of you. Keep up the good work. Enjoy the creating and learning process. Again, on behalf of the House of Commons, please accept my sincere wishes for a successful science fair this year. Thank you. Take care.
Now, more than ever, Canadians are looking around the world and seeing the importance of creativity and study in science. Despite the pandemic, scientists and researchers around the globe have made great strides in pursuing and developing new technologies to make society better. Whether it's the vaccine for COVID-19 pandemic, new technologies to help cut carbon emissions, or even taking steps to develop the tools humanity will need to explore the cosmos, scientists across the globe are working to provide a better life for all of us. Many of you are just starting your own journeys as scientists, and you will have many discoveries awaiting you. I know many of you are about to enter university to pursue research and further your understanding of the world around you. These journeys are critical to our future for everyone around the world, and I know that all of you contribute to this future. I've always been a strong believer in the importance of education, especially in the science. The creativity and hard work that you have put into projects has only reinforced that. Stay creative and stay curious. Thank you.
On behalf of the Government of Canada, I'd like to congratulate everyone taking part in the 2021 Abdus Salam Science Fair. The Government of Canada believes that science is for everyone and that diversity and inclusion spurs new ideas and perspectives. Dr. Abdus Salam, the first Muslim Nobel laureate in science, is a great example of the value of diversity. So on the occasion of this science fair that bears his name, it's great to see so many young Canadians engaged in science and technology. As we have witnessed throughout this pandemic, science matters more than ever. And so our government encourages all of you to continue exploring your interests, expanding your horizons, and perhaps consider a career in the sciences. Une carrière en sciences est synonyme de grandes possibilités pour vous et pour nos citoyens. Thank you, best of luck, and bonne chance to each of you participating in this prestigious fair.
Have you ever wondered about the interactions that control the universe? Have you ever thought about the story of the four fundamental forces: gravity, strong force, weak force, and electromagnetism? From stopping us flying into space to providing visible light so we can see, they can be found all around us. Physicists believe that the four forces were once unified, but then separated with the expansion of the universe. In fact, in 1979, Professor Abdus Salam was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics, alongside two American physicists, for their revolutionizing work in the field of electroweak unification. So, what exactly does this discovery mean? Well, Professor Abdus Salam successfully showed how electromagnetism is in fact connected to the weak force. He hypothesized that the existence of a neutral particle is fundamental to carry the weak force, and so, to find the W and Z boson particles, the grand unification theory was coined. This theory even formed the bedrock for the discovery of the Higgs boson particle in 2012. So, let's explore the life story of Professor Abdus Salam. He was born in 1926 in a remote province of Punjab, Pakistan. In 1964, he came to the UK on a scholarship and studied at the University of Cambridge, completing his PhD in theoretical physics. Whilst at Cambridge, he was awarded the Smith Prize for predoctoral contributions to physics. In 1957, he became Professor of Applied Mathematics at Imperial and also co-founded the Theoretical Physics Department. He also founded the United Nations International Centre for Theoretical Physics in Trieste, Italy, to provide an international forum to the scientists from the underrepresented countries to share their ideas and theories. Professor Abdus Salam was a man who broke all barriers to rise as the first Muslim Nobel laureate in science. And so we remember him as the man who proved that knowledge knows no limits and that scientific thought and its creation is the common and shared heritage of mankind.
Good afternoon and assalamu alaikum, friends, students, and parents, and anyone else joining us today for this awards ceremony of the 13th Abdus Salam Science Fair. We are now live on the stream at abdussalamsciencefair.com. On behalf of the Talim, that is the Education Department of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat of Canada, and on behalf of the Abdus Salam Science Fair Organizing Committee, a warm welcome to everyone to an exciting program today. My name is Nabil Rana, and I, along with Shahid Mirza and Zafar Nadeem, will be your host for today's program. I turn it over to Shahid Mirza Sahib.
Thank you. This is a Muslim tradition to recite Holy Quran before any program or event. So I will request Uzair Ahmed Sahib from Vancouver Jamaat for the recitation of the Holy Quran. Uzair Ahmed Sahib, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور الذي خلق سبع سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت فارجع البصر هل ترى من فطور ثم ارجع البصر كرتين ينقلب إليك البصر خاسئا وهو حسير ولقد زينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيح وجعلناها رجوما للشياطين واعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير. جزاك الله.
Thank you, and Jazakallah Uzair Ahmed Sahib. I will request now Muhammad Ibrahim Khan Sahib from Saskatoon Jamaat for the translation of the verses just recited. Muhammad Ibrahim Khan Sahib, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I will now present the English translation of the verses just recited. Chapter 67, verses 1 to 6. In the name of Allah, the Gracious, the Merciful. Blessed is he in whose hand is the kingdom, and he has power over all things, who has created death and life, that he might try you, which of you is best in deeds, and he is the mighty, the most forgiving, who has created 7 heavens in harmony. No incongruity canst thou see in the creation of the gracious God. Then look again. Seest thou any flaw? Look again and yet again. Thy sight will only return unto thee confused and fatigued. And verily, we have adorned the lowest heaven with lamps, and we have made them for driving away Satans, and we have prepared for them the punishment of the blazing fire. Jazakallah.
Okay, thank you thank you very much. At this point, we will have the Science Fair coordinator, Dr. Amir Minhas Khan Sahib, to introduce the ceremony for today. Dr. Amir Minhas Khan Sahib.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and welcome you all. To recognize the contributions of late Dr. Abdus Salam Sahib in science and for the motivation of our youth in Canada, Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat Canada is holding Abdus Salam Science Fair yearly for last 13 years. In this science fair, students used to appear with their scientific projects that pass through a judgment process. But this year, due to global pandemic of COVID-19 observed in Canada, Every student of grade 5 to 12 in whole Canada was requested to prepare a scientific project, record it in a 5-minute video, and upload at abdusalamsciencefair.com for the judgment process. By the grace of Allah, we have finished our judgment process, and today we are holding the award ceremony of the science fair virtually to congratulate our winners. I want to thank all the members of the organizing committee who worked hard for the program's success, especially Mansoor Nasir Sahab of Brampton for bringing the highest number of 47 projects, which is a landmark. There are 4 categories in which top positioners' name will be announced and their project videos will be displayed. Today, we have a large number of dignitaries, including professors, members of federal and provincial parliaments, and mayors of Canada. We will also have National President of Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat Canada, Lal Khan Malik Sahib, and Ahmad Salam Sahib, son of late Dr. Abdus Salam Sahib, with us. Therefore, today's program will be as follows. First, announcements and videos will be displayed of the winners from girls 5 to 8 category named Abu Ali Sina, then boys 5 to 8 category named Al Khwarizmi, girls 9 to 12 category named Jabir ibn Hayyan, followed by boys 9 to 12 category named Ibn al-Haytham. And between these announcements, our dignitaries will join and present their views and remarks live. Then there will be a keynote talk by respected Ahmad Salam Sahib, son of late Dr. Abdus Salam Sahib, whose title is Lesson from the Life of My Father. And there will be a question answer session with him in which our youth and parents can ask questions to him. For this purpose, a phone number and email will be displayed at your screen where you can text questions by email or WhatsApp or normal text with your name and city. Then there will be a formal conferring of awards by respected National President of Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat Canada, Lal Khan Malik Sahib, vote of thanks by National Secretary Sahab Talim Canada, Dr. Hamid Mirza Sahab of Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat. At the end, President of Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat Canada, Lal Khan Malik Sahab, will lead us in a silent prayer at 5:05 p.m. After that, there will be a news media opportunity at 5:15 p.m. in which available media could interact with our position holders. Thank you very much. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah, Dr. Saab. I think you can start with the first set of awards.
Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Peace be upon all of you. As Amir Minasab mentioned, there were over 147 total projects which were received and judged. So in different categories, the announcement will be made now. The first category is Abu Ali Sina Group, which is students, girl students who are studying from grade 5 to 8. The third prize is won by Zujajatul Noor. The project was The Beauty of Bionics. So I request Nabil Sab to please display her video.
Bionics, the science of constructing artificial systems that have similar characteristics to living systems such as limbs and organs. It refers to the flow from both biology and engineering. Another simple way to describe bionics and understand it is that bionics is a replacement or enhancements of organs or other body parts with mechanical versions. My dear brothers and sisters and judges, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Noor, and today I will be presenting to you the miracle that is bionics. Through heavy research and investment in bionics, humans, by the grace of Allah, have been able to change lives by creating revolutionary technology, and I want to be able to bring those incredible achievements to the knowledge of other people. Something that is interesting to note about bionics is that it mimics nature, which is actually a very old idea. A lot of scientists have taken inspirations from animals in the wild, taking in the advantages that their limbs give them to create better prostheses for humans. Bionics isn't just used for creating prosthetic limbs or organs. A lot of machines are the result of heavy research the scientists have done to create the perfect type of machine for the specific environment that it may work in. This science has changed the lives of so many people who believe that they could never have a second chance. MashaAllah, this science is so beautiful. Even if you haven't really developed an interest in this type of science, you must have seen viral videos of people receiving prosthetic limbs that end up changing their lives. Now you may be asking me, Noor, what does any of this have to do with your science project? Well, my dear brothers and sisters and respected judges, for my project, I have decided to design a type of prosthetic limb that could possibly help people, or at least attempt to. For my project, I'm going to be attempting to design a prosthetic leg for a professional athlete who runs a lot. For my design, I will be focusing more on the design aspect rather than the more complicated technical aspect. Since my patient is a professional runner, the foot of my bionic leg needs to be strong enough to be able to handle a lot of compression. In theory, my design should be able to handle my patient running because of the springs and the shape of my design. The springs that are in the middle part of the foot will be able to handle the pressure of the fast steps taken while running. This part of the foot design is made of a strong, flexible rubber that will help make running more comfortable. The ankle is a motor that will automatically move when it detects motion in the foot, allowing the foot to bend and perform other tasks such as walking up the stairs. The design of the foot will hopefully be dynamic and strong enough to allow our athlete to get one step closer to running. Now, time for the rest of the leg. My leg design consists of a few important components. Starting off with the top of the leg, I have a custom fitted holder for the upper thigh to go in. Underneath the holder, I have another motor that will act as the knee. This motor will also move automatically as soon as it detects motion in the legs, helping this bionic leg to function as close to a normal leg as possible. I've also incorporated a very new and recent technology to my leg design, which is the synthetic muscles. As of now, this technology has come to the point where it can do the job of a muscle pretty well, but it is still under development. Going through the entire leg, I have a strong metal rod that acts as the skeleton for the entire prosthesis. I know that my bionic leg design still has many flaws and it still needs a lot of improvements and needed adjustments. But that's the beauty of science. It's always expanding and there's always something that you can improve on. My project inspired me to take the leap and create something that really interested me. I pray that it has done the same for you. So until next time, Allah Hafiz, and may you have a great day.
Jazakumullah. It was very interesting how bionics can work in easing the various pains and various sufferings of the humanity. Now, the second prize winner in this category, in Blue Senior category, is Zara Ahmed. Her project is your disinfectant as effective as you think? Let's see how much they're effective.
Assalamu alaikum. Is your disinfectant as effective as you think? By Zara Ahmed, Mississauga North, grade 7. Background research. We are in a pandemic and are constantly worried about viruses and bacteria. Doctors and scientists have told us to sanitize. With the rise of the COVID-19 pandemic, sanitization is at the forefront. However, do we know which household disinfectant is the most effective? This experiment will show which disinfectant delivers the best results. Here are my other observations. Testable question to test which disinfectant is the most effective in killing bacteria viruses based on the bacterial colony growth rate on agar plates. This is an agar plate with bacterial growth. I will be using antibacterial soap, sanitizer with 80% alcohol, Greenworks, distilled water, bleach, and Lysol wipes. Hypothesis. I predict that antibacterial soap is the most effective at killing bacteria. Soap molecules act as a bridge between water and hand oil molecules, and rinsing the soap carries 99% of the germs away. As it breaks down COVID-19, I believe it is one of the safest and most effective options available. This is the purpose of my experiment. Variables. Manipulated. The source of bacteria. Raw chicken, which is the source of E. coli and salmonella, and cough droplets. Responding. The disinfectant products. The rest are the controlled variables as listed here. This is my list of materials. There are two parts to my procedure. The first is to create agar plates where I grow my colonies. Let's take a look. The second part is to use my disinfectants to clean and then swab for bacteria. Let's take a look. How does it work? Colonies of bacteria, microbes grow in an agar plate and are monitored for colonies after 7 days. The plate with the least colonies shows the most effective disinfectant. Graph results. Antibacterial soap is the most effective with an average colony of 17 compared to distilled water comes in last place with an average bacterial colony of 239. This is my data table. I have 3 trials per disinfectant and an average listed at the end. It goes in order from most effective to least effective, starting off with antibacterial soap, bleach, sanitizer, Lysol wipes, Greenworks, and distilled water. Data analysis. Soap was the most effective because it's antibacterial, which is relevant. Regular soap without these properties would have varied the results adversely. It was also noted that the least effective disinfectant also produced bacteria that had larger colonies, and the colonies were actually fluffy in colors like red and yellow. I saw this for distilled water. Bacteria cultures for bleach, sanitizer, and antibacterial soap have very small white circular bacteria colonies. Conclusion. The disinfectant that resulted in the least amount of bacteria colonies was antibacterial soap. Therefore, my hypothesis is correct. When comparing distilled water, sanitizer, and antibacterial soap to wash hands, antibacterial soap and water is the way to go as the best hand sanitizing option. As bleach came in second, I conclude that bleach is the most effective household disinfectant. I conducted an unbiased experiment since not everything we see online is true. Therefore, when you purchase these products, they may not be performing to the level that you anticipated. Therefore, my experiment shows which disinfectant is truly effective. I can dig deeper into different companies and value the ingredients that are effective, such as alcohol next time, and I will also increase my trials to improve my averages. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
Excellent work, mashallah, Zara. Most of the scientists will agree your conclusion. Now, our next winner in this category is Afia Nadeem Saba. She is grade 5 to 8 category, and her project is Magic Blooming Flowers. So let's see how these flowers bloom.
My name is Afia Nadeem. I am 10 years old and I am from Scarborough South. Have you ever heard of magic blooming flowers? Well, you'll be. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Afia Nadeem. I am 10 years old and I am from Scarborough South. Have you ever heard of magic blooming flowers? Well, you'll be learning about these flowers today. First of all, I'm going to answer the question that is probably in your minds. What are magic blooming flowers? Magic blooming flowers are made from paper. When you drop them in water, they bloom. I will be showing you how to make these today. But first, let's take a look at how this works. The name of these flowers may tell you that they bloom magically. But is it really magic? Of course not. It's science. Paper is made up of small fibers. These fibers are small holes that allow liquid or light to pass through. The water is getting absorbed by these fibers through a process called capillary action. When the paper gets wet, it swells and causes the creases on the petals to flatten out, which makes your flower open up. This STEM project will help people from all ages understand how the capillary action works in a fun and interesting way. My hypothesis is that if I use different types of paper, such as toilet paper and cardstock, the thinner type will unfold faster. I think this because if the paper is thick, it will be harder for the water to absorb through the paper, which means it will take longer for the flower to unfold. If the paper is thinner, the water will absorb quicker, which will make the flower unfold faster too. We are going to test out this theory by using 3 different types of paper: cardstock, tissue paper, and regular paper, and record how long it takes for each flower to bloom. Now I can show you how to make these magic blooming flowers. The materials you will need are paper, scissors, markers or any other material to color with, stickers, or a pen. Draw a circle on a piece of paper. Use your finger as a guide to draw petals around the circle. Color your flower. Cut out your flower. Place a sticker in the center or use a pen and write a message. Fold the petals to the center so the sticker or message is hidden. Drop your flower in water and watch the magic of your flower bloom. If you don't prefer this option, feel free to use a flower template to cut out some designs. Here I have a flower made from tissue paper, and I have one made from cardstock. I also have one made from regular paper. I am now going to time how long it takes for each flower to bloom. You can watch the difference of how long it takes for each different type of paper. Time to test! This next part will be put in fast motion. Have fun watching the flowers bloom. When I dropped my flower into the water, it slowly opened up, petal after petal. My hypothesis was proved right because the different types of paper I used provided different results. The cardstock took about 3 minutes to bloom, while the regular flower took about 2 minutes to bloom. And like I said before, the tissue paper flower opened the quickest, taking only 1 second. Jazakallah for watching. Have fun making your magic blooming flowers. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Jazakallah, Afia, you won the first prize in this category. And I forgot to mention Zara Ahmed, previous video which was shown, she won the second prize. Mashallah, very good experiment you have done, Afia. There are 2 additional consolation prizes. One is given to the Nidaun Nasser. She has made a project on can a smartphone become a hologram? And the second consolation prize will be given to Simran Malik. She has made Guess That Color, the Stroop Effect. These 2 projects will not be shown because of the limitation of the time. but the other, those three top projects has already been shown. Back to Nabil sir.
Thank you. We have a number of guests and dignitaries and academia, members of academia joining us throughout the day, throughout the course of the award ceremony. At this point, I would like to introduce respected Professor Dr. Nayad Ashfodi. He is an astrophysicist and assistant professor in astrophysics and gravitational group at the Department of Physics and Astronomy at the University of Waterloo. He is also, as you can see from his background, a researcher at the Theoretical Institute, at the Parameter Institute of Theoretical Physics. I invite him to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Nabil, for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. So I have prepared some remarks that are brief. Hopefully that you will find that interesting. So on behalf of Rob Myers, the director of the Parameter Institute, I am honored to be here to celebrate the accomplishments, passion, and dedication of you young scientists who are attending the Abdus Salam Science Fair. Abdus Salam was an outstanding Muslim theoretical physicist who co-created the standard model of particle physics, unifying the three of the four fundamental forces of nature. Today, one of the primary goals of theoretical physics and Parameter Institute is to continue his legacy and unify gravity, the fourth fundamental force of nature, with the standard model. To me, however, this is more personal. Growing up in the Middle East and striving to become a physicist, Abdus Salam's amazing journey was a powerful symbol of how far kids of diverse backgrounds, such as me and you, could go to shape the course of science and humanity. In fact, his founding of the International Center for Theoretical Physics in Trieste, Italy, which promotes science and scientists in developing countries, rivals his physics discoveries in having shaped some of the young minds, my colleagues, who now carry his legacy forward. Throughout history, people of all cultures have contributed to our journey of human inquiry. But in the end, no matter which background you come from, it is up to each one of you to blaze your own trail by asking good questions, following through with the clues, and celebrating unexpected results. There are big challenges ahead, and talented scientists like you will be needed to overcome them, to make the discoveries that will change the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Nash. Just forgot to mention that Nash is also an associate faculty in the cosmology group at the University of Waterloo. Next, I would like to invite the Honorable Deb Scholes, who is an MP for King Wan and a very good friend of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. She is a strong voice in our community and focused on delivering positive results. She is currently Canada's Federal Minister for Seniors. So, Honorable Deb, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. And I'd like to begin by thanking Nabil and all the organizers for inviting me to speak at this virtual award ceremony for the 13th annual Abdus Salam Science Fair. And it's also nice to see President Lakam Malik on the screen and my colleague MP Salma Zaid to be here with us. Congratulations. I want to express my congratulations to all who have participated and were awarded in their designated categories. And I'm very happy to see youth engaging, learning, and advancing their knowledge of the sciences. It's most impressive to see you all taking this initiative, especially during the pandemic. Like all of you, I have a science background with an education and a career in mechanical and aerospace engineering. And I am also very passionate about our pressing environmental issues and needs at hand. I encourage you all to continue discovering your passions, exploring the world, and exploring your curiosity. We will be counting on all of you and your knowledge for our future. Well, I really enjoyed watching your presentations, and I know there are many more to come. Really, really good presentations and good choices, but I'm sure there were so many more exciting presentations that you had to go through to pick these wonderful three. And I really want to express that I hope that we will be able to do this in person next year, because there isn't anything more fun than meeting the budding scientists and seeing their works in person. So I'm looking forward to next year. Again, congratulations to all the participants. Our future is very bright because of youth like you. Thank you, and peace be upon you all.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to remind the viewers that, as Deb mentioned, there were so many other projects submitted, but they are all available on the abdusalamsciencefair.com website. We are only presenting here in this ceremony the award-winning ones. We have one more greeting in this section before we move to the next, and that is by respected Salma Zahid, who is an MP from Scarborough Center. She is a committed champion for gender equality and a strong voice for the diverse families of not only Scarborough, but all of Toronto and Canada. Salma is a chair of the Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration and a member of the Standing Committee on the Status of Women.
Thank you, Nabil. Thank you, Nabil. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's really an honor and a pleasure for me to be part of this 13th annual Abdus Salam Science Fair. Amir Jamaat Ahmadiyya, Mr. Lal Khan Malik, along with great to join along with my colleague and a good friend, Honorable Deb Schultz, and all of you, all those organizers. And on top of the list is these young scientists who have been doing their presentations and who have been working very hard to be able to bring their projects in front of all of us. You have named this science fair on a person, Abdus Salam, who was the first one to receive the Nobel Prize in Science, the first Pakistani and the first Muslim to receive the Nobel Prize back in 1979. So it's great that you have named that. We want our young scientists, our young generation, to take lessons from what Abdus Salam did for science. And it's very heartwarming to see that our youth are taking interests and making sure that they bring different types of projects to highlight the progress we have made in science. It is to the progress of science that we have been able to develop the vaccine so fast in order to get through this pandemic. If it was not to the scientists, we would have been still struggling in the very early stages of this pandemic. But here we are seeing a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. This vaccine development and all those science-based evidences, data, which has been guiding us, which has been guiding all the politicians, which has been guiding the doctors. So we owe this to science. So it is really very important that we encourage our youth to take interest and identify as one of the fields they would like to pursue in their careers. So thank you for providing our young generation this opportunity to be able to identify some innovative ideas so that we can all take advantage of that. So congratulations to all these young kids who have been able to win prizes, and keep up this good work. We need you. The country needs you. The world needs you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Salma, and the other Deb and Neash. We will now move to the next segment, and Dr. Hamid Mirza Sahib will introduce the winners from the next group, which is Al-Khwarizmi Boys 5 to 8.
Thank you, Nabil. Now we're moving into the second group. The third prize winner in this group is Fateh Zimran Hadi. His project was evaluating aerodynamics efficiency of truck design. I think this is something which is very similar to what she just spoke. Okay, Nidhisha, please go ahead.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My Abdus Salam Science Fair project is about the aerodynamics of trucks. This experiment is to visualize the airflow and to improve fuel efficiency for more environmentally friendly trucks. Have you ever wondered why when you put your hand out of a moving car and the slightest turn can change the force you feel exponentially? There are two fundamental parts at play here. The high pressure resistance to airflow in the front and the low pressure suction at the back. If you take a balloon and toss it behind you and run forwards with your arms spread out, you can make the balloon follow you. This is because of that low pressure pocket created behind you that pulls the balloon towards you. For my science fair project, I wanted to determine which shape design will minimize drag and improve the aerodynamic efficiency of trucks. I predict that if we develop designs that streamline the airflow over the truck, we can reduce the resistance to airflow, thus reducing the drag force. We can also add elements to our design that will reduce the area at the back of the truck, so there is less area for the low pressure suction at the back to act on. For my experiment, I tested various shapes and airfoil designs in a wind tunnel to visualize the airflow over them. I used these observations to modify the basic truck design to make it more aerodynamic. Here are some of the shapes and airfoils I tested. I incorporated some of these shapes into my various truck designs. The base truck was used as a control, and my modified trucks were used as variables against the control. Procedure: build a wind tunnel. Design your shapes in the 3D modeling software. Test your shapes in your wind tunnel. Create various truck designs in your 3D modeling software. 3D print your models. Test your models in a wind tunnel. On the right, you can see my models being 3D printed. To make my wind tunnel, I used instructions from the NASA Glenn Research Center Make at Home project. This is my wind tunnel. Air enters the chamber through here. As the air flows through these straws, the flow becomes laminar, and the air exits the chamber through this hole, which is being sucked by a fan over here. The fan blows some air into this pipe, goes into the smoke chamber, which generates smoke, particularly from a burnt cloth or blown out candle. It goes through this pipe and enters the airstream. Here are my observations of the different flow visualizations on the different shapes. In the first image, you can see that the flat surface of the triangle is creating a high resistance to the airflow, and there is significant turbulence at the back. On the airfoil, you can see how smooth and streamlined the airflow is with very little resistance. My observations of the control truck showed that there is a big wake at the back and there is trapped air at the front. This matched some of the simulations I found online. Here are my observations of the various truck designs. It was observed that the double airfoil created a higher pressure at the front, as you can see by the flow lines being closer together compared to the single airfoil. In these observations, you can also see different low pressure wakes created at the back of the trucks, which are highlighted in yellow. From our observations, we can conclude that by adding the airfoil at the front of the truck, we eliminated the high pressure air pocket trapped at the head of the truck, as we observed by the change in airflow. By adding a wake device at the rear, it was observed that we modified the airflow as it leaves the trailing edge of the trailer. However, it is difficult to qualitatively say which modification is best. A quantitative measurement of the drag force could answer this question. Jazakumullah.
Thank you, Fateh. You have very good potential to be a very good scientist. Our second prize winner in this category is Ayan Mirza. He has the project named Can You Use Solar Energy to Water Plants? So let's see how we can water the plants.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Ayan Mirza and I am in Brampton, Mount Pleasant. I go to Ahmadiyya Elementary School and I am in grade 5. The topic of my presentation today is can you use solar energy to water plants? The purpose. The purpose of this project is to find an easier way to water plants. The reason I want to find an easier way to water plants is because sometimes you get too busy or forget to water them and slowly they start to wilt. In this project, I will attempt to make something that does this job for you. So instead of coming every day to water your plants, all you have to do is refill the project with water about every week or so. Today, I will be showing you how I attempted to do this and if it worked or not. My hypothesis. My hypothesis is that if there's enough heat or radiant energy from the sun that goes into the solar panel, then the water pump should start moving, and then it will send the water through the straws to the plants. Due to these circumstances, the plants should be watered using solar energy or heat from the sun. Materials. For this project, you will need a solar panel, a cardboard, bendable straws, a plant, a jar or a mug, hot glue or tape, a 9V water pump, and a 9V snap connector. What is solar energy? Solar energy is where the heat from the sun hits a solar panel and creates energy. What is a solar panel? A solar panel is a plate that converts the heat from the sun into electricity, which then powers up whatever it's connected to. In this case, I have connected it to the water pump so it waters the plants. Procedure. The first step is to cut out a 10-inch by 12-inch cardboard piece for the base. Cut out the sides and glue them onto the base. Then cut out a rectangular piece at the front of the base like shown, and then put your plant face up on the hole. Get a small jug full of water and put it beside the structure, then put the water pump under the structure, glued to the top. Then make 2 holes like this, then place the solar panel on top and connect the wire with the pump going through the hole. After that, connect a straw to the holes of the pump. Make sure that the straw that comes from the pump sucking it in is connected to the water jug, and the part that pushes the water out is connected to a straw that leads over the plants. Then connect another straw to the one going over the plants to lead back to the jug for excess water so we can save the water. In the straw that goes over the plants, poke holes with a needle so the water can come out. Then place your project outside and you're done. When there's enough sunlight, the plants will be watered itself. Now it's time to test it out. Variables and controls. While doing the project, I had to change some things to make it better. For example, I had to use a jar or a jug instead of a container under the structure. This helped because it made it easier for the water to go to the plants, Another variable was that I had to put tin foil over the whole structure so in case it gets wet. I also had to make the base bigger as the plant was too big. It also helped me more since I got more space to fit everything like the straws and the pump. Conclusion. In conclusion of this project, my hypothesis was correct. This is because in my hypothesis, I stated that I would use solar energy to power up the pump, and that is what happened when I put the project outside. After a couple of hours, the solar panel got enough heat, and so the water pump had gotten enough energy, allowing it to work. In the end, my hypothesis was accurate and my project was a success. Thank you for taking out your time to listen to my presentation.
Thank you, Hayyan Mirza. Very good project, mashallah. This is the area where people are looking forward to have more scientists. Our first prize winner, we have tie. There are two winners. First is Ayan Hadi. He has the project measuring mask efficiency of easily accessible masks. Nabil Sab.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mr. Ahmed. I'm in grade 6 and this project is called Camera Powered Microscope. Table of contents. The first slide will be about the project, hypothesis, process, comparison, and my conclusion. About this project works from a lens. All we'll have to do is take a webcam and open it up, and then flip the lens. This will magnify the image and show smaller details that the naked eye or a camera wouldn't pick up, thus making it a microscope. Then assemble the webcam back and plug it into your laptop. You'll then see how it magnifies the image. Hypothesis. For this project, I hypothesized that my microscope will show clear in a darker room because the light won't block the object. I also predict I'll be able to build this project in 3 days. Now you see a clip of me actually building my microscope. Now that you see me building my project, I will demonstrate the basic functions of my project. So as you can see, this is an eyepiece lens and it holds a lens that will magnify into the object. This is the arm and it helps support the base and the body together. This is the actual base and it would help with the arms and to hold everything that's in the body together. This is our revolving nose piece, and it holds a lens that will obviously magnify into the image. And this is our light source, and it helps illuminate the object so we can see it clearer. So now that I've described my basic functions for this project, I will demonstrate how it works. So let me just go into my camera real quick. And as you can see, it doesn't look that bright, but when I turn on my flashlight, it would help illuminate it, and you can see how it actually zooms in to the leaf. And one more thing, there's a screw here, and what that would do is it would help move the nose piece further and closer to the actual eyepiece. So if I turn the screw, you can see it getting further away from the nose piece, and if I were to zoom in closer, you can see how it would do that. So now I will go back to my slideshow and show you my conclusion. My conclusion was right, that in a darker room it would be more clear to see the object, but also wrong about how long it took me. It actually took me longer than 3 days, and this is because I need to get the right measurements to make the microscope work. Jazakallah.
MashaAllah, very good. Actually, this was the second person who was in tied up, which is Abshar Ahmed. His project was camera-powered microscope. My apology. The other who was tied up was the Zayan Hadi. His project is measuring mask efficiency of easily accessible masks. So let's see.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Zayan Hadi, and I will be measuring mask efficiency for my Abdus Salam science fair. My research question is, what kind of easily accessible mask is the most effective at reducing the spread of bacteria? I chose this experiment because we're currently living in a pandemic, and we should know which type of mask we should use to best protect ourselves without spending hundreds of dollars on an N95 mask, which healthcare professionals require. As you can see from this imaging technology, a picture, that not all masks are created equal and our masks leak. So, I wanted to figure out which mask is the most effective at preventing this leakage, but I don't have this technology, so I'll be plating the bacteria that leaks out. And if I give the bacteria the food, water, air, like all its basic requirements, it should grow. So, the basic procedure is I will be plating by coughing on these different petri dishes with these different masks, and one control, which is a no mask, just to make sure bacteria will grow. And the bacteria with the most original colonies will have the most colonies at the end as well. So hopefully that everything works. And that's how we'll know which one is the most effective. My hypothesis. So I have a null hypothesis, which is if the experiment completely fails or shows no correlation between mass and bacteria growth, different masks will have no effect on bacteria growth. The alternative hypothesis is that the different masks will produce a different amount of bacteria growth, and my effectiveness order is written below. So the variables. The independent variable is the type of mask being used, and my dependent variable, which is what I'll be measuring, is the bacteria growth, which is measured by counting the colonies. Now, all of these other variables are kept constant or controlled so that they don't affect bacteria growth. You can pause now to read them. So the materials I use are listed here on the screen. You can pause right now to read them. They're very simple. Agars for the nutrients, cotton, heating pad, all that stuff. Rubber box for the incubator. Reusable cloth mask, therefore obviously coughing, and cotton is just insulating material. So first we have to build the incubator. Image to the left is at the start where we just prep the incubator. Image to the right is it's stuffed inside with bacteria after we have plated them. petri dishes. So we have to prepare our petri dishes by labeling them. The number is the trial number because we need a lot of trials just to make sure we have a good, solid amount of data. So A is just our starting system. A was control, B was reusable cloth mass, C was disposable mass, D was double layer. Next, we had to prepare the agar. So this was done in the step, boiling the agar, pouring it out, making it nice and even, and then letting it cool into a gel. Next, we had to plate the bacteria. My little brother kindly helped me out with this. He held it in place while I coughed on it. And yeah. So these were the results. As you can see, the control obviously had the most bacteria growth, which also indicates that bacteria growth did occur, meaning our experiment was successful. And as you can see after that, the least amount of bacteria growth, which is what we want to see, is with the 2-layer disposable mass, which I predicted would be the most. And then is reusable mass, which is surprising, and then disposable mass. So the ranking is number 1 is double layer, number 2 reusable, and the least effective from the ones I tested, other than control, was the disposable mass. So before we make any conclusions, we need to know if the variance within our results wasn't just random chance or just natural variance that occurs. So I did a t-test score, and our p-value was less than 0.05. That means this random variance was not due to chance. There was a reason behind it, and that's because the original spores or bacteria from our mass leakage obviously more. So our alternative hypothesis from earlier is accepted. So the results are the double layer mass, which is 2 disposable mass, is the most effective, easily accessible mass. Significance of the results. Well, now you all know the best way to protect yourselves from COVID and bacteria spread outside of the pandemic as well. Like if you're ever going to a doctor's office or visiting a country with a lot of air pollution. But a downside of this is there will be more waste due to the increase of single-use masks. So again, go out as less as possible, and inshallah the pandemic will soon be over because vaccination is going really well in Canada, and yeah, hopefully it doesn't increase that much. So improvements I would like to make to this experiment. I would like to have a better incubator because the one that we used, it's not the best. It had an internal temperature of 26 degrees Celsius, and good incubators have around 31 to 32 degrees Celsius. So a better incubator should be required. Maybe we can build out not cardboard, but actual wood, and have some proper insulating material and a better heat source. And also a better plating mechanism, because having the petri dish lid out open, that allows a lot of contact from bacteria that's just in the air. So that is a better plating mechanism would be to use a sterilized chamber with one direct path, I guess, like a controlled path for the bacteria to go through. And one thing that
Okay, I think this video is done. I congratulate all these winners for the first prize, Abshar Ahmed and Zayan Hadi. In addition, we have 3 consolatory prizes. One is for Shayan Basit Sahib. He has made the project the maze game. Second actually consolatory prize goes to Haris Bandisha. His project is formation of fireworks. And the third is Mirza Hashir Ahmed. His project was why do we need vaccines and how do they work? Actually, all these projects were very interesting, but unfortunately, due to the limitation of time, we could not actually display them. So with this, I turn my mic to our next segment in charge.
Hello and Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah to everyone present today. My name is Zafar Nadeem, and I will be conducting the remaining portion of this Al-Khwarizmi group. So I would be aiming to introduce some of the dignitaries who will be present in this session. So firstly, I would like to introduce respected MP Ikra Khalid. She is a Liberal Member of Parliament representing Mississauga Erin Mills. She is a chair on the Standing Committee on Justice and Human Rights and is a member of various other committees. May I request MP Ikra Khalid to please take over the mic and say a few words.
Thank you very much, Zafar Nadeem Bhai. Can I just say what a wonderful way to spend Saturday afternoon watching these really exciting projects by our youth in the way that they're thinking about science, about using science to solve what are some of the biggest challenges that we face as a community and as a society today. I know we were joined by Minister Deb Schultz, who's a very dear friend, and our Minister of Seniors earlier. I see my colleagues and friends, Majid Johari, Yara Sats, and Samir Zaberi that are here to just witness all of this fantastic work being done. And I have to say, the way that you are encouraging these young people to take that mantle, to take these leadership roles, especially in the field of STEM, it's really commendable. I think it's building a strong foundation of what the future of our country is going to look like. I know our federal government and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau have been really investing into kids in science and encouraging more and more STEM projects with kids and young people in our communities. And I hope that you've taken advantage of those programs. And if you haven't, then I'm happy to help you in taking advantage and ensuring that young people across the country, coast to coast to coast, have the best opportunities available to them, because the more that we nurture them, the more that we empower them, the stronger we build our country and ultimately our world. And lastly, I'll just say thank you to the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat once again for always doing your utmost to support community, to support every single aspect of community, whether it's through fundraising for local food banks or hospitals, or taking in refugees coming in from Syria, or just community awareness and engagement during this very difficult time period of COVID. It's really an honor and a privilege to work with each and every one of you as we go about our days, and inshallah, try to reduce some of these challenges. You are really great community partners, and I look forward to continuing to work with you on this, on your journey and on all of the great things that you're doing. Jazakallah khair, and I'll pass the floor back to you. Thanks again for having me here today.
Thank you very much, MP Ikra Khalid. Thank you very much for your wonderful remarks. And now, may I request Dr. Hamid Mirza to proceed to the third segment, which is Jabbar Ibn Hayyan, and we will see later on if we can adjust the other members.
Our next segment is for Jabbar bin Hayyan group, which is girls group, age grade 9 to 12. The third prize winner is Atiya Chaudhary. She has made a project, Why Was the Spanish Flu So Devastating? I would request Naveed sir to please play the video.
This 1918 Jumper Prime was born from the horrors of the 1918 influenza pandemic. People with this respiratory disease would end up with a flooded pair of lungs. Victims were drowning in their own fluid. They would have pale blue skin, cough up blood, develop fever, and severe pneumonia. You may think, it's such a terrible virus that must have caused this. But was it the virus alone that caused so much damage? The pathogen that caused the 1918 influenza pandemic is called the H1N1 virus. known for the hemagglutinin and neuraminidase proteins on its surface. If you compare the deaths by seasonal influenza yearly by the influenza pandemic in 1918, it's a mere fraction of it, just 0.4% of the number of deaths caused by influenza in 1918. That is, if it were 50 million deaths. Although some researchers argue that the Spanish flu killed 100 million people. So by comparing recent influenza deaths with the mortality rate of 1918, it is manifest. The 1918 pandemic was devastating. But why? Why were the chances of survival so narrow at that time? Was it because the H1N1 virus was more virulent, or were the conditions people were living in to blame? I believe that the Spanish flu of 1918 was significant mainly because of the conditions at that particular time. These factors resulted in a deadly and historical pandemic. It could not have been the H1N1 virus alone that caused so many deaths. The methodology that I'll use to draw conclusions can be classified into the following 3 steps. In Philadelphia, they ran out of coffins. Police would collect corpses draped in sackcloths and blood-stained sheets, left on porches and sidewalks. Bodies were piling up in wagons, their motionless limbs sticking out from under the sheets. It was a horrifying scene. Deaths caused by influenza instantaneously spiked. It was an abrupt change. It's not likely that that virus could have caused so much damage by itself. After the pandemic, the mortality rate decreased. Remember, time was changing, and so was technology. In 1928, penicillin was discovered. So from there, deaths decreased even more. And eventually vaccines and antivirals were developed. So the number of deaths by influenza significantly reduced. However, if we were to estimate, it is quite possible that without the advancement of medicine and technology, the number of deaths would be heightened, even in the 2000s. But even with this estimate, the pandemic of 1918 would still be topping the charts. Why? Because the world was at war. World War I may have increased the destruction caused by influenza in 1918. In 1917, the flu was on the rise. It's not apparent where it originated, but since troops were on the move, the flu which they carried decided to tag along. Now, let's summarize some significant factors caused by World War, which contribute to the disastrous pandemic. Many leaders either denied or ignored the presence of influenza, even though doctors urged them, claiming that there was an epidemic. But the leaders were just like, whatever. So with less people working to fight influenza, containment of the virus was not anticipated. On the other hand, military doctors ordered lung samples, reports, and any account on medication to fight influenza. But it was all a strictly preserved secret. Moving on to social factors, there was much poverty during this time, so not everyone could afford proper health measures. Also, when soldiers were coming home, Armistice Day invoked a celebration. With so many soldiers on one ship and some infected with influenza, it's clear that they were bringing home a terrible virus, especially after it mutated. Speaking of mutation, the war itself may have mutated the virus. When the Germans launched their spring offensive on the French, British, and American allies, they used mustard gas, which is known to cause genetic mutation. The battlefield was filled with this chemical. Oh, and, by the way, the German soldiers had the flu. So with the flu also on the battlefield, genetic mutation was more likely to occur. But hold on a minute. The mutation could also have happened if a soldier was infected with 2 different strains of the flu. If they merged, it could have resulted in this ghastly variant. Either way, since troops who were infected with the flu were constantly traveling to different places and meeting other people, this mutation would have happened with or without mustard gas, because the war made it possible. Okay, so we've covered war. Let's talk about the people who were immunocompromised. Remember the trenches? Those were highly unsanitary. These weakened and wounded soldiers were exposed to tons of dirt and perhaps bacteria while in the trenches, and this made them highly susceptible to influenza. Regarding biological factors, The 1918 pandemic was a syndemic. That means there wasn't just one virus or bacterium that was causing trouble. There were multiple. There was influenza, but there was also tuberculosis. TB would have made people susceptible to dying from influenza, especially since TB affected the lungs. Following an influenza infection, victims generally succumbed to bacterial pneumonia. This was caused when various bacteria moved deep into the lungs along a pathway of cells that were killed by the influenza virus. Among these destroyed cells were protective cells that served to move microbes and debris up and out of the body. The loss of these cells made the entire respiratory tract vulnerable to bacterial infection. And since TB outbreaks were around at that time, it was quite possible that TB would have increased the mortality rate significantly. It's kind of like the influenza virus did the invasion, secretly making its way into a host. TB bacteria were the ones that did the dirty work, either giving the host a hard time or killing them off. Finally, cytokine storms are considered a substantial biological factor for the deaths in 1918. To conclude, if World War I did not take place during the flu pandemic, people would have worked harder to fight the flu, making deaths significantly lower. But since the war occupied most of the world's attention, the flu silently made its way up to the stage. They also didn't have ICU ventilators at that time. Now that all of these factors have been identified, my hypothesis was correct. It could not have merely been the virus alone that caused 500 million deaths. Influenza was devastating because of environmental, political, social, and biological factors, all coexisting together to enhance the efficacy of the virus.
Thank you, Athiya, for winning the third prize and giving the information that can save world. MashaAllah, very good presentation. Our second prize winner is Tahniyat Qamar. She has made a project named Forces Acting on the Gravitational Car. So let's see how these forces work.
Assalamu alaikum. My project is about the different forces that act on a simple object. In this project, I am making a gravitational car and attaching some weight to it using a pulley, and then we will see the different forces that will be acting on the car. In order to make the gravitational car, you need scissors, glue, cutter, ruler, 4 CDs, 2 sticks, wire, cardboard, pulley, and a can that should weigh less than 500 milli. So we're going to see some of the forces and energy that are going to be acting on this car. So first we have this pulley which is holding this weight, and since the weight is not on the ground and is in the air, we know that it has potential energy. So as we know, gravitational force acts on all objects, so we know that the gravitational force is acting on this weight, this pulley, and this car itself. Another force that will act on this car is kinetic energy. But in order for the kinetic energy to act on this car, the car needs to be moving. So now when the car is moving, we can say that the car has 3 forces acting on it, which are potential, kinetic, and gravitational.
Is that video done?
Yes, it's finished.
Okay, thank you very much, Tahniyat Qamar, for winning the second prize. Our first prize winner in this category is Tamira Aziz Salifu. She has a project which is entitled electrolysis. So let's see how she do the electrolysis experiment.
Assalamu alaikum. Electrolysis is the process in which an electrical current is passed through a substance, usually liquids, to cause a non-spontaneous chemical change and/or reaction. The chemical change is when the substance gains or loses electrons. Metallic sodium and chlorine gas are produced by the electrolysis of molten sodium chloride. Electrolysis is used for many other things, such as production of many metals and nonmetals, such as aluminum, magnesium, chlorine, and fluorine. Electrolysis is commonly used for coating one metal with another. This is called electroplating. The object that is set to be coated is made the cathode, and the coating object is made the anode. This diagram shows the electroplating of a spoon, which is the cathode, that is being coated with silver. What are electrodes? An electrode is a solid conductor that carries electric currents into nonmetallic solids, liquids, gases, or plasma. Electrodes are good conductors, but they don't always need to be metals. In the Hall-Héroult process to extract aluminum metal from aluminum, both the anode and the cathode were graphite. What are cathodes and anodes? Cathodes and anodes are where oxidation and reduction occur. The cathode is where reduction occurs, and the anode is where oxidation occurs, though it is not always this way. Whether an electrode acts as an anode or a cathode depends on the cell, or more specifically, the way the cell is operating. Cells. If a cell is switched from operating as a galvanic cell, outputting energy like a battery, to operating as an electrolytic cell, energy is input to the cell, the cathode will become the anode and vice versa. Conductors. Water on its own is not a very good conductor, so when performing electrolysis with water, it is best to add conductible substance, such as salt. Conductibility is also put into consideration when it comes to the electrodes. As I stated in slide 4, the Hall-Héroult process uses graphite for both electrodes due to it being a conductible mineral. Sodium metal is produced by using a carbon anode and an iron cathode. The Hall-Héroult process. Paul-Louis Toussaint Héroult was a French chemist who invented the electric arc current. It was invented independently by Héroult and almost simultaneously as American chemist Charles Martin Hall. In 1866, both chemists found that electrolysis of nearly pure aluminum oxide in molten cryolite, aluminum sodium fluoride, created a layer of melted aluminum at the bottom of the vessel. After some time, the chemists had come to a mutual agreement. For my experiment, I will be separating hydrogen and oxygen from water. I will connect a power source, a 9-volt battery, to the electrodes that are placed in the water. When the electrodes are connected to the power source, hydrogen will appear at the cathode, which in this case is a negatively charged electrode, and oxygen will appear at the anode, the positively charged electrode. In this clip, I am mixing salt to the water to make it a better conductor. The reason water becomes more conductive when mixed with salt is that the water molecules pull the sodium and the chlorine ions apart so that they can flow more freely. Sodium bonds with the hydrogen and oxygen to create sodium hydroxide. The chlorine and sodium then bond with like ions. I am using a glass jar. Glass is very effective as an insulator at room temperature. Glass, like most insulators, have electrons held tightly, which means that they cannot be shared between other atoms. I am now putting 2 metal knives held up by cardboard into the jar. They will work as my electrodes. As I stated in previous slides, electrodes can be any conductive metal or nonmetal. As you can see, the very second the ends of the knives touch the terminals, the reaction begins. The hydrogen is reacting twice as much as the oxygen because in water there are 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen. H2O, 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. The oxygen is being oxidized, which means it is losing electrons. The reason the water has changed color is because the knives are causing precipitate. solid substance formed during a reaction. If I used graphite instead of metal knives, there would be no creation of oxide. End of electrolysis. By the end of the reaction, the bonds between the hydrogen and oxygen in the water have been broken, as well as the bonds between the sodium and chlorine in the salt. As hydrogen and chlorine gases are escaping in the air, lye and oxide are the precipitate. What is pH? pH is a scale in chemistry that measures how acidic or basic a solution is. pH is on a range of 1 to 14. A pH level of less than 7 means acidity. A pH level of higher than 7 means a base or an alkaline. A pH is really a measure of how many hydrogen atoms flow freely in a solution. Lye is a very strong base and has a pH level of 13.0. Vinegar has a pH level of 2.0. When I pour the vinegar into the lye, it gives the water a neutral pH level of 7.0. This makes it safer to dispose.
Thank you, Amira. It was very nice to understand the complex electrolysis processes by your experiment. Now we have two consolatory prizes in this category. One goes to Gina Ahmed and Isabella Crotico. Their project was Ruby Goldberg machine. And the second consolatory prize goes to Alicia Bassett. Her project was on COVID-19. So with this, I conclude the awards for group, which is grade 9 to 12 girls. And now back to Nabil Sahab.
Thank you. We have a few more guests and dignitaries who have joined us this session. For this session, we have respected Samir Zubairi, who was elected as a member of parliament for Pierrefonds-Dollard, Quebec in 2019. He is currently a member of the Standing Committee on Justice and Human Rights and on the Standing Committee for the Scrutiny of Religions. I invite him to say a few words.
Assalamu alaikum. It's great to be here with Ahmadiyya community around this fair to really celebrate and mark the accomplishments of young students and the endeavors in science. Leading up to this, I was doing some research on Abdus Salam and his accomplishments, his achievements as a scientist, as a Nobel Prize winner. And I was just very impressed with how this gathering is done with his inspiration. And you know, this is a beautiful gathering. Also love to see the crash course that we just all got in science. It brings me back to my senior days as a high schooler and a university student. A great refresher. Thank you for that. I won't take up much time, but just to say that it's great to be here with everybody. And if I may just share a small point about what we as elected representatives do deeply care about. We do care deeply about the protection of minorities, both here in Canada and across the globe, religious minorities included, and in particular. So we are sensitive to the concerns of the Ahmadiyya community, and just so I want to share that with you, that we are sensitive to those concerns and do champion the respect of all minorities and human rights, both here at home and across the world. Thanks for gathering us together.
Thank you so much, Samir, for your kind words. We have respected Majid Jawahri, who is an MP from Richmond Hill, Ontario. He has been working in strengthening our community and Canada through collaboration, consultation, and mutual respect. He firmly believes that open and transparent government is at the core of Canadian values. He's a member of the House of Standing Committee on Industry, Science, and Technology. I invite him to say a few words.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. It is an honor to join you today, especially on such a great event, which is focused on and organized by a community leader such as Ahmadiyya community, as well as engaging the youth in what's really important, which is STEM and science. And let me say, mashallah, mashallah to Atiya, mashallah to Tinat, and mashallah to Samira. The topics that you were covered were very, very relevant to what is important in Canada and what is important across the world. The previous presenters will also talked about the topics, whether it dealt with energy efficiency, better use of energy, using solar power, using explaining influenza, and how it has our current environment that we live in, and the supports that is out there has made this pandemic a much more manageable, still devastating, still impactful, but in as comparison a much more manageable. And also the support that the community organizations such as Ahmadiyya or community organization has given, and not only the Muslim community but also other communities. When you look at the kinetic energy, and when you look at the separation of hydrogen, when we see there are various sources for us to be able to empower the new cars of the future, whether it's electrolytic or hydrogen, and new sources of energy. It's amazing that I get an opportunity to be able to talk on the panel that all the 3 recipients were girls, which is really put a big smile on my face and is in support of what not only we as a government but we as a community stand for, giving opportunity to everyone. Aside from the content, which is very comprehensive, I was amazed by how articulate you all are, in how in depth you went in, how precise you made your points, the methods that you all followed, the way you use visual arts, the way you use combination of videos and combination of PowerPoint to be able to really get your message. And this is really important, because aside from the knowledge that you gain, when you talk about developing a hypothesis and testing it, and then presenting the data, these are all the skills and all the leadership that you're going to need in the future as you graduate from grade 12, you enter university. The fact that so many of you have worked together in support of your family to be able to put this project together, it's amazing. And I congratulate not only all the recipients, all the participants, all the volunteers who have worked very hard to put this together. And once again, thank you thank you, Zafar Nadeem, for inviting me, and thank you Hamid Riza for doing such a great job. And my kudos and congratulations to the Ahmadiyya community for providing this opportunity for our youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Majid. Just a little clarification that you mentioned that all the winners were girls. Well, this was a girls category. The boys is about to come, and you will see now the boys win as well. So,
yeah, thank you. I said I was honored that I got the chance to talk, to present on the girls, but thank you for correcting me.
Right. We have, I believe, the Mayor Scarpetti. Let me check if he's here. Yes, Mayor Frank Scarpetti, the mayor of Markham. He has joined, and he has been serving on the York Regional Council and is the current chair of the York Region Rapid Transit Transportation Corporation. He's also the co-chair of the Community Partnership Council, vice chair of the Transportation Services of York Region, and sits on the board of directors of York Telecom Network. I invite the mayor to say a few words.
Well, thank you very much, Nabil, and assalamu alaikum to everyone. And it's great to be here virtually as you're celebrating the 13th annual Abdus Salam Science Fair. And as we all know, this science fair is named after the Nobel laureate, Dr. Abdus Salam, who was the first Pakistani to receive a Nobel Prize, an incredible contribution that he made to physics, and a great opportunity for young people to participate in this national science fair to showcase your projects and really your incredible skills, knowledge, and I'll say innovation. And there is no doubt now more than ever, our world is transforming like never before. And we need bright minds like the ones that we're hearing. And I'm so impressed with the I don't know how you picked winners. After hearing all of those presentations, they were all in the winner category. I mean, the judges must have had just an incredible, difficult time to get down to that. But truly impressive to see the projects in research and science. And to all of the students that are participating, just thank you. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your dedication, your ability to take information, distill it, and either create new ideas or certainly get a better understanding of the science. And I have to tell you, I was very impressed with all of those presentations. And yes, we are here for the girls grade 9 to 12. And I want to tell you that it's wonderful to see the level of participation by young girls in this science fair, because more and more we want to see young girls succeed in STEAM. And very proud here in the city of Markham that our Regional Innovation Center Venture Lab actually has a significant program entitled Tech Undivided, which supports young female entrepreneurs in information technology and innovation. A big thank you to the Ahmadiyya Jamaat Canada for again providing amazing leadership. You always do. It's about your faith. It's about your commitment to community. It's about inspiring the next generation to do even better. And it's about giving back. And on that front, if this was an opportunity to grade, you get an A++ because it's just amazing the incredible commitment of your community. So thank you for the kind invitation to be here today. And I am truly inspired. And I'll tell you, for all that Canada has to offer as a nation to people that have come here from all over the world, I say that our collective future is going to be made so much better by the bright minds that we're hearing from today. Congratulations, one and all.
Thank you so much, Mayor. We will accommodate one more greeting before we move on to the final segment. This is from respected Yara Sachs, who's a Liberal Member of Parliament representing York Center. She has worked in the office of the Mayor of Jerusalem and in advancing the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. She serves as a member of multiple standing committees and the House of Commons. I invite her to say a few words.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum to all of you. It's such a pleasure to join both colleagues, shared colleagues from the House of Commons, as well as the Ahmadiyya Jamaat community. Your students are wonderful and incredible. Each presentation has been an absolute inspiration, and it's such an honor to be here celebrating our youth. Our young people are part of a rich tradition of history of science and discovery that spans centuries, and most notably from the Muslim community itself. The foundations of science, astronomy, mathematics, physics, and medicine are rooted in a deep tradition that starts here and continues with our young people today. As a mother of 2 young women myself, and as a member of Parliament, I spent much of my time looking to our young people to know how we change the world we're in now and also the future that we wish to inhabit. As we move out of COVID-19 and emerge into what we hope will be a green economy and a better future in regards to climate change, the young people that we see here today presenting their projects are part of that future. I congratulate each and every one of them and their inspiring projects. I hope to learn more from you, to be inspired by you, and to meet with all of you when we can, once we are past the times we are in COVID now. Alf Mubarak to all of the students who are here today. I wish you much success and much joy and enthusiasm in all the work that you do, and may we all gather together soon. Ma salam.
Thank you so much for your kind words. I request Dr. Hamid Mirza Saab to introduce the final segment now.
Thank you, Nabil. Now we are moving to the last group of the students who won the prizes. The third prize winner in this category, which is grade 9 to 12, is Noman Qureshi. His project was growth of a wheat plant as a function of temperature. So let's see how he had grown the wheat plant.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Naman Qureshi and I'm currently in grade 12 attending Aidan Bowman Collegiate in Saskatoon. My experiment is the growth of a triticum aestivum plant as a function of temperature. The topic of my science project is optimizing the growth of a common wheat plant. Doing research on the production of wheat around the world, I wondered why a country like Russia, with extreme temperatures, had such a high ranking in the amount of wheat produced. Wheat is the most important and most used plant in the world. It is the main ingredient in flour, which is used to make a great variety of foods, some of which include foods that many people around the world rely on, like bread, pasta, and noodles. They also produce desserts like crumpets, muffins, biscuits, cakes, pastries, and is also the main ingredient for snacks and condiments that people eat throughout the day, like cereal bars, crackers, sauces, and etc. This small list shows how crucial wheat is to human life and mainly impacting the food and agriculture industry. Triticum aestivum, also known as the common wheat plant, is a cereal plant which plays a significant role in the lives of humans, but it is not available in all countries in the world, which leads me to wonder why nations like Portugal, which have the ideal temperature of 20 degrees Celsius to grow wheat, yet the amount of wheat produced has decreased at a tremendous rate. The graph on the next slide will show the significant and tremendous decrease in production. This graph shows the tremendous decrease of wheat production in 50 years in Portugal, and it has decreased by roughly 92%. I strongly believe in climate change and how it is impacting our day-to-day life, and I believe that as our planet continues to warm up, the production of these major agriculture plants will be altered significantly. I have designed and conducted an experiment which helps us understand the effect of temperature change on the rate of growth of a wheat plant. I believe that there will be a peak in temperature which would be at roughly 20 degrees Celsius and would exhibit the maximum growth of the wheat plant. I believe that the maximum root and shoot length will be demonstrated in the ideal temperature, and as the temperature changes, regardless if it's increased or decreased, the results would vary from the ideal temperature. The independent and dependent variables. The independent variables in my experiment will be the temperatures, which will be 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30 degrees. This will be controlled. And the dependent variable in my experiment is the length of the root and shoot of the wheat plant. The goal of this investigation is to evaluate the impact of global warming on the growth of plants and the international food industry. I will do this by simulating a change in temperature, which is an outcome of the greenhouse effect. The materials used in this experiment are wheat plant seeds, 5 germination chambers for each temperature, seed germination paper for the seeds, a measuring device, and I would like to thank the CFIA for providing the lab for me to conduct the experiment. They also taught me how to use the chambers and provided many materials such as germination paper, seeds, and the germination chambers. The procedure for my experiment is shown below. You set up a germination chamber on each temperature, then you prepare the seed germination papers, then you plant the seeds in the germination paper and place it in the chambers. After a week, you remove all the paper and then you start recording data. The raw data is presented here and on the following slide. Process data. This is the raw data compiled into a graph and also a compressed form on the table to the right. This slide shows the calculations used to create the error bars, the maximum and minimum slope, and also the trend line. An ANOVA test was conducted which showed that my test was at least 99.9% significant, allowing me to firmly say that my hypothesis was supported by my investigation. After my data collection was complete, the numbers evidently showed that temperature had an impact on the growth of a wheat plant. Temperature in general has a large impact on plant growth. For example, when the temperature is too high, the plant won't grow, and if the temperature drops too low, the growth of the plant will not be efficient. There are many reasons to this, one obvious being the fact that as the temperature gets colder, the water inside the plants will begin to freeze, causing it to slowly expand and rupture. Another reasoning behind this is why plants do not grow well in colder temperatures is because when temperatures drop, the enzyme activity within the plants decreases. Since plants secrete enzymes to absorb the nutrients around them, when the weather is too cold, enzyme levels are lower, causing a decrease in photosynthetic rate, which results in stunted growth of the plant. Similarly, there is extreme heat stress on the growth of plants halt and the plant dies. This happens because when temperature changes, the moisture levels with the soil change. When extreme heat is pressed onto these plants, the stomatal conductance of a plant is reduced and greatly impacted. If extreme heat is combined with water stress, the plant roots will clump up and cause a blockage, ultimately leading to the plant to die. My investigation clearly demonstrates how the increase and decrease in temperature from optimal conditions will cause a decrease in the length of the wheat plant.
Thank you, Noman. It was very good to see how these various conditions they can affect on the wheat plant. I think similar studies you can do in future for other plants as well. Our next winner, which is the second prize winner, there are two. This is a project with team. Members of the team are Jadid Ahmed and Walid Ahmed. Their project is demonstrating plasma physics and electromagnetic induction. So let's see how they have done that.
Demonstrating plasma physics and electromagnetic induction. Jalid and Walid Ahmed, Mississauga West. The actions conducted in this video are neither condoned nor encouraged by the experimenters. This experiment deals with extremely high voltage, enough to seriously injure or harm another human being. The most amount of care possible was taken while conducting this experiment. Please do not try this at home. The purpose of this experiment was to determine whether a high-voltage power supply can be created using the 220-volt AC outlets in normal households, using a combination of electromagnetic induction and reversing polarity. Furthermore, the purpose was to then use the supply to ionize oxygen gas in the air and demonstrate the physics of plasma. The hypothesis was that using a high-frequency alternating current and an electromagnetic induction transformer, we can convert the 120 to 220-volt AC current into 40 kilovolts, a voltage so high that it would liberate electrons of gas particles in the air and effectively plasmify it. Project materials. The first thing we needed was a way to get the electricity from the wall outlet. So I ripped off the plug from an old extension cord and cut the end so that I could use it for the experiment. The second thing we needed was a way to control the voltage from the wall, as 220 volts directly into the transformer would completely burn it out. Furthermore, we needed a high-frequency current, so I went and bought a fluorescent light ballast. And lastly, the most important component was an old flyback transformer. How does a flyback transformer work? A flyback transformer is built up of a magnetic core and a primary and secondary coil. The current in this transformer is allowed to flow until the primary coil is completely saturated, and then it is completely cut off. The magnetic field created by this current collapses and induces current into the secondary coil with a reverse polarity. This happens very quickly, and the direct current provided from the ballast is stepped up to a very high voltage. The procedure was as follows. We soldered the end of the wall plug into the neutral and live wires of the ballast. Using a tube light, we determined which of the 6 wires coming from the other end of the ballast were in use, and set them apart from the rest. We soldered these wires to the primary coil terminals of the flyback transformer. We then created a chicken stick so that I was safe and connected one end of the secondary coil to it. The first picture here is the schematic of the ballast. The ballast has an input of 120 volts alternating current, and through a series of diodes and transistors, converts this current into direct. The 2 upper arms of the schematic then connect into the primary coil of the flyback, pictured above. Safety measures. For this experiment, I used a chicken stick to keep myself away from the approximate 40,000 volts of electricity that are produced. Furthermore, I also used the one-hand rule, keeping my left hand in my pocket so that electricity passes through me into the ground, instead of circulating through my body. Secondly, what I didn't use, which I should have, is mineral oil as an insulator for the flyback transformer. Mineral oil is an excellent electrical insulator, which would keep the current in the flyback confined and prevent it from jumping over to other components and pins in the device. The electricity comes through the wall and is converted into DC current by the ballast. The ballast then provides the flyback transformer with a constant voltage, and this voltage is then magnetically induced from the primary coil into the secondary, with reverse polarity and very high frequency. This increases the voltage almost 100-fold. The results are as follows. The arc that is produced is a form of plasma. Plasma is the fourth state of matter and the one with the highest amount of energy. What is happening is that the current that is being produced is so high that it has an affinity to jump through from the high voltage output to the high voltage ground. This liberates electrons from the oxygen in the air and ionizes the gas, effectively creating a plasma arc. High-voltage power supplies, like the one created in this video, are used in a variety of different industries. These can include security screening, medical imagery, mass spectrometry, industrial processes such as plasma gasification, undersea power, electron lasers, radiation therapy, and many, many more. To conclude, the experiment was a success. We effectively transformed the electricity from the wall and produced a high-voltage power supply, with a capable voltage of upwards of 40 kilovolts. We also learned, through some research, that electromagnetic induction and polarity reversion is an excellent way of upping the voltage. We also learned how a high voltage can jump through the air and create plasma by liberating the electrons from the gas. We would like to thank everyone for taking the time to watch this video. Jazakallah ahsan al-jaza.
Thank you, Jaleed and Walid. MashaAllah, very good project. And indeed, this plasma is very useful in many industries. Now, our first prize winner in this category is Farhan Muhammad Aladdin. His project is acceleration due to the Earth's gravity, Torricelli law. So let's see what he can demonstrate in this experiment.
Assalamu alaikum. A container, a calculator, and some water. That's it. That is all you need to determine the value of a concept that has remained obscure for centuries. Just a container, a calculator, and water. CCW. Sounds kind of like the abbreviation for counterclockwise, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly the point, because today we're going against time. For centuries, physicists have struggled with this extremely complex phenomena. Theories after theories have been proposed. Greek philosophers like Aristotle and Archimedes passed by with incorrect beliefs on this concept. Famous and world-renowned scientists Galileo Galilei, Albert Einstein worked specifically to solve this intricate mystery. Sir Isaac Newton developed fundamental equations to explain this concept. And what is this concept, you may ask? Well, it is none other than gravity, the very force that we experience every single second of our lives. So let's forget the past, because today we'll be using just 3 materials to determine the acceleration due to the Earth's gravity. Let's jump into some physics. So here we have our container with a few holes drilled in it. According to Torricelli, the height measured between the water to say this hole down here has a direct correlation with the velocity at which the water exits the hole. Specifically, if you were to drop water at this height down to this hole down here, the speed at which it falls will be the exact same as the speed as it exits from this opening. This is known as Torricelli's law. Theory has it that if you vary the height, as I have done here by drilling different holes, and examine its effect on the exit velocity, you can, after a few simple calculations, determine the value of the acceleration due to the Earth's gravity. So here we have the equation that relates the exit velocity of the water to its height, and this is known as Torricelli's equation. G here is a value that we are looking for, the acceleration due to the Earth's gravity. Now if we square both sides so that we can get rid of the root, we are left with v squared equals 2gh. H here is a value that we will be changing. That is why we have 5 holes drilled into our container. This is thus our x variable. And as we change the height, and as I explained earlier, the velocity will also change because they're directly related. Thus, v squared will be our y variable. And as we know in mathematics, y equals mx plus b. Thus, this value here, 2g, is actually our m value, our slope. So how is this significant? Well, you'll see right now. If we graph the relationship between v squared and h, we would get a line as follows, theoretically because they're directly correlated with each other. Now we must determine the slope of this line. In mathematics, we know m equals, or slope equals, delta y over delta x. And our y value, as explained earlier, is v squared, and our x value is h. Now what do we do from here? Well, if we isolate for 2g, well, we can actually sub this into our equation here. Here's why. V squared equals 2g times h, and if we divide both sides by h, we are left with 2g equals v squared over h. Well, v squared over h is also here, so if 2g equals this value, we can actually substitute it right over here. That means m equals 2g. And what does this mean? That means the slope of this line here is equal to 2 times the acceleration due to the Earth's gravity. So if we divide this by 2, we will get g equals m over 2. So all we have to do is determine the slope of this line, divide it by 2, and then we can get the value for the acceleration due to the Earth's gravity. So we actually determined a value for the slope using the table presented on the screen, and after dividing by 2 and including the uncertainties, we determined a value of 9.50 meters per second squared, which is just 3% off from the accepted 9.81 meters per second squared. Aside from being able to calculate the acceleration due to the Earth's gravity, this device has a fundamental application in today's society. It plays an extremely critical role in understanding the physics behind hydroelectric dams. Using Torricelli's law, we know that the height of the water above the hole is directly related to its exit velocity. Specifically, the higher the water is, the faster the water comes out, and this is due to its gravitational potential energy. Engineers use these equations to construct their dams in such a way that the velocity of the water is maximized. The higher the velocity of the water, the greater force it has, and therefore it turns the turbines in the dams much, much faster. And these are the very turbines which generate electricity to power millions of nearby homes and facilities. Not only that, hydropower prevents the burning of over 100 billion liters of oil and 120 million tons of coal each year. In conclusion, Torricelli's law is not just confined to determining the properties of the Earth such as gravity, but it also plays a huge role in the present and future construction of hydroelectric dams, and consequently in making our world a more environmentally friendly and clean place. This is a container, this is a calculator, this is some water, and this is pure physics. Jazakallah.
MashaAllah, very good project. For winning the first prize for this project. Torricelli also had actually done some work on the gas pressures, which we normally call torrs. In this category, there are 2 consolatory prizes which are given to Ehsan Sharma. His project is on the LED blinking lights. And the next consolatory prize is given to Ayan Akram. His project was on nervous system. With this, I conclude all the winners who have participated and presented their projects. Now back to Nabil sir.
Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen, once again. So this was the last part of this session, and I would like to introduce the one of the guests, respected David Pickles, who is a deputy mayor and regional councillor for Ward 3 for the city of Pickering. He has 30 plus years of experience in senior positions with the Ontario provincial government and has served in a number of committees and boards. May I request respected Deputy Mayor to please say a few words?
I was just making sure I was off mute. Salam alaikum, good afternoon. Like some of your other guests, some of the presentations reminded me of my studies, although many years ago. On behalf of the City of Pickering, Mayor Ryan and my colleagues on council, I'm pleased to extend my warmest greetings to the organizers, students, and guests of the Abdus Salam Science Fair Awards ceremony. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate all of the award winners here today, as well as everyone who entered their projects, models, and demonstrations in the science fair. This past year has been a difficult one for most of us, and in particular our youth. So I commend the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat for providing this exciting opportunity for students grades 5 to 12 to discover the wonders of science and technology, as initiatives like this make a real and meaningful difference to our community. So once again, to all my friends who are participated and all the organizers, thank you, and our best wishes for a memorable ceremony, and stay safe. And thank you for letting us join you.
Thank you very much, David, for your kind words. And with this, I would like to request respected Dr. Hamid Mirza, who is the Director of Education, Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat Canada, to kindly introduce us to the keynote speaker of the day.
It is my distinguished honor to introduce our keynote speaker, who is joining us from UK. Mr. Abdus Salam Sahib is a prolific speaker and son of Nobel laureate Professor Dr. Abdus Salam. He is an economist by profession and have served the City of London, UK, Rothschilds, Chase Manhattan, and Credit Suisse. Abdus Sahib is a founding director of the Islamic Bank of Britain. He was voted by Muslim Power Awards as the top 100 Muslims in UK. Abdus Salam Sahib runs the Nobel Talent Fund set up by his father. He is an advisor at the International Center of Theoretical Physics in Trieste, Italy, founded by Professor Dr. Abdus Salam Sahib. He also serves as National Secretary Trade and Industry for the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat UK. I'm honored to invite Abdus Salam Sahib to address us. Abdus Salam.
I think Ahmed Sahib is on mute or unavailable.
He's on
perhaps move on to the next maybe and come back.
Ahmed Sahib is available here, but he's mute. May I request respected Ahmed Salam Sahib to unmute your mic? Respected Ahmed Salam Sahib, you have unmuted the mic. Please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. My apologies. I had a last-minute technical hitch, so my apologies for everyone keeping you waiting.
No problem.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. It is an absolute honor and a pleasure to join you today. I'm delighted to represent the whole Salam family for the first time at this wonderful Salam Science Fair. I know the fair has been established now for a number of years, and it is great to see how the young budding scientists are developing. My congratulations on behalf of my whole family to all the winners, the participants, and the attendees. This is a truly wonderful initiative, and I congratulate the organizers. This model is one we as a family would like to see rolled out globally, as there is no doubt that my father was a great role model for young inquiring minds and young boys and girls everywhere, desperately needing good role models. But I do just have to point out very respectfully one small issue. My father was not an experimentalist. He hated experimental physics. He did not have the patience to be a practical experimentalist, and he didn't have the patience to set up and monitor an experiment. And indeed, at Cambridge, at the Cavendish Laboratory, he would often make the theory fit the results he achieved. And as you can imagine, that does not make for good science. And I suppose there's a reason why he created the International Center for Theoretical Physics. I remember I met a student from the 1970s who was at Imperial. He wasn't a physicist, but he was a mathematician. And he said to me, I remember your father's lectures, and I cannot pretend I understood any of his lectures, but I attended every one because it inspired me. And that for any teacher, and at the end of the day, that's what my father was. He was a teacher, a guide, and a mentor. That was the ultimate compliment. When Dr. Saab asked me to address the fair today, I asked him what I should cover, as I have obviously spoken about my father on a number of occasions now. And of course, I am sure many of you will have seen the film on Netflix, which has given a certain insight into his life. And whilst that film is by no means a comprehensive story of his life or his achievements, it does give some background and guide to his life. Sadly, the film, because of the requirements from the broadcaster schedules, i.e. Netflix, had to skimp over a number of topics and fit a specific time slot of 75 minutes. So quite a lot of the film was actually cut out, sadly. But I hope that we'll be able to have another film one day, which will give the full story. Dr. Saab suggested I should speak on the lessons I learned from my father. And I think I must inevitably start with the power of prayer and the remembrance of Allah the Almighty. A lot has been said and written about the influence of the Holy Quran upon my father and his work, both academic and non-academic. And this power of belief in Allah the Almighty and the Holy Quran came from the role of my grandparents in my father's life, especially my father's father. And to this point, it's important, I wanted to make a point to any parents who may be here today. Do not assume that your children will thrive and excel just because they're doing well at school and have good teachers. That is a dangerous assumption to make. They will excel because you, their parents, their fathers and their mothers equally and collectively, firstly, pray for them, but secondly, take a real interest in their education, not just the mothers. Please, all parents, take a real interest in your children's education. Encourage them and give them time. Don't give them iPads and phones and everything else electronic, but give them your time and sit with them, read with them, and encourage them to learn. I've been asked on a number of occasions by teachers, why is it typically in Muslim households, it is the mother who tends to come to school events and the parent-teacher sessions and not the father? And in my case, my father did not attend parent evenings because he was not in the country, he was simply abroad. But he would always make up for it. And whenever he came back to London, he would call up the headmaster and ask for a personal session with the headmaster and to get an update on my progress. Now, of course, if you remember parent-teachers evenings, they tend to be very short amount of time, 5 to 10 minutes, back to back, the bell rings and you move on to the next teacher. Of course, when my father came in to meet my headmaster, he had a lot more time for him. So he could go into my education in a lot more detail, which is not always the best, I have to say. Going back to my grandfather and the lesson that he taught my father, he would sit with my father every single day when he came home from school and review and prepare my father for the classes the next day. So they would go through a review of the work that was done today and then be prepared for the lessons tomorrow. And my grandfather instilled the discipline of respect for time and an interest in learning in my father from a very young age. He taught him that time was a very precious commodity, not to be wasted in any way. My father detested with a vengeance anybody who would just sit around and engage in idle chit-chat. Anybody who wasted time by not being engaged in the pursuit of learning was to be avoided, and that was a lesson he kept repeating to me. Choose your friends carefully and make sure you sit with people who themselves who are learning and you're going to learn from them. And I remember from about 6 or 7 years old, I would go with my father or my uncle or my mother to pick up my father from the college in London. And on the journey, he would always tell me and fill my head with stories and facts. Stories from our cultural Rajput heritage in India, stories from Islamic history, and facts from general knowledge, science, and technology. He would explain the workings of the internal combustion engine, rocket propulsion, or gravity. And he would always take time to explain the details to me. And my father would encourage me to always keep a small notebook in my pocket and jot down anything I found interesting or useful, and then research it later. Father was also very keen to instill the simple methodology of success, which is to plan and prepare. As we all know, to fail to prepare is to prepare to fail. Prepare as much as you can for the next day's work in advance. Don't just do the minimum amount of homework, but in order to excel, do that little bit more every day. And this was throughout the year. Holidays were the same. And even when we had summer holidays, I and my sisters would have to prepare a daily timetable of what we were going to do and what we were going to learn. So each day was divided up into periods just for school to cover subjects. Of course, there was some time to play and relax, but not very much. It was really 7 days a week. This is what you're going to do, and this is what you're going to achieve. And that was a lesson that he had learned from his father. And that was part of the reason, inevitably, for his success, the ability to work hard. For him, relaxation was really reading a book and always learning from the book he read, or occasionally some of the books were just there as pure entertainment. Occasionally, and this came later in life in the 1970s, he would watch a little television, perhaps half an hour to an hour a week. And his favorite things to watch on television were the silent comedies from the 1930s, such as Charlie Chaplin or Buster Keaton. My father was very keen, of course, about Islamic history, and he was very keen, I remember, to see a newly released film at the cinema called Lawrence of Arabia about the great travails of the First World War and Captain T. Lawrence and his travel across the Arab world. He thought this would be a great way for us to learn about the history of the Arab peoples in the early 20th century. We were very excited to go to the cinema as this was the first time. But after a while, my father got up and walked out and decided this was too much of a waste of time, and he wanted us to leave as well. But we persuaded him to let us stay, and he went and sat in the car and did his work and waited for us until the film had finished. His timekeeping and early to rise has been very well reported. He would typically rise early at about 3:30 to 4 a.m., offered his Fajr prayers and Tahajjud, and then begin work. This was his favorite time to work as he would not be disturbed and his mind was always fresh. We would put out a tray the night before which had tea, some cashew nuts, some digestive biscuits and some cheddar cheese for his early morning snack. So when he awoke, he had a hot cup of tea, some nuts to help his brain to get going, and some cheese and biscuits, and that would get him through till breakfast. And his routine was always the same wherever he was in the world: early to bed and early to rise. His day was usually mapped out in advance wherever he was in the world. And when he was in the center in Trieste, his day was typically divided into three: 1/3 for the students, so he'd always spend time every day with his students, listening to them, helping them, guiding, and mentoring them. 1/3 on administrative matters, and then 1/3 for his own work. Whenever he was traveling, and he was traveling, as you can imagine, extensively, he would always have a small copy of the Holy Quran in his pocket, and he would read it wherever he could and whenever he could. Whenever he was at home, he would have the Holy Quran playing gently in the background on a record player, and he always had that inspiration of the word of Allah coming into his subconscious, and that's part of his motivation without any doubt. Father really embodied the values and teachings of Islam: immense respect for elders, humility, kindness, sacrifice, and politeness. His humility was renowned, and his ability to treat everyone equally is well known, no matter what their status. And I've often told the story how when he returned home from a long journey and a long time away, he would always travel in economy. There was no question of him traveling in any other class in an airline, and unless the airline upgraded him for free. If an organizer for conference sent him a more expensive business class or first class ticket, he would return it and tell the organizers to take the difference between the two fares and pay it into a local educational charity or an educational fund. He always sought education from wherever he could, and as a young 20-year-old, if you can imagine, to leave India and travel by boat for 3 weeks to come to Cambridge in 1946, he was following that Quranic injunction of travel to seek knowledge. And if you can imagine the sacrifice he made to come to a country where he knew very little about the culture or the customs, and he was coming to one of the most elite academic institutions in the world at Cambridge. And he would have to make his way as probably the only Muslim in his college. And if he wanted to follow the requirements of Islam, he had to make great sacrifices and endure great hardship in those early days. A simple example of this, as my brother has said in the film, is that all he would eat for the first few years was macaroni, cheese, and vegetables. And of course, after the Second World War, there was very little non-pork meat. I have no doubt that he would have suffered considerable racism, not of a vindictive and nasty sort, but a simple ignorance of his culture, his beliefs, his religion, and its practices. And I think this made it a very tough time for him when he was here, made worse by the fact that he could only communicate with home via an old-fashioned letter. There were no phones, no computers, no direct dialing. You could not pick up the phone and dial somebody in Pakistan. You had to book a call and wait for the operator to tell you that your call had been connected. Remember, when he came to Cambridge, the first time he had seen an electric light bulb was when he was 16 and he traveled to Lahore for the first time. So just imagine seeing 4 years later, going from the whole seeing an electric light bulb for the first time to coming to Cambridge and seeing life in England in that time. It's an incredible achievement when you think about it. Yet Allah's will was to prevail, and my father rose to be a giant intellectually and also spiritually and morally. He led the charge to break down the barriers between the developed and the developing worlds, and he refused to accept that an accident of birth should limit or hinder a man or a woman's ability to reach the top of their profession. I noticed earlier one of the mayors was talking about the focus on women's education. In 1989, my father set up the Women in Science Institute, and that was an example of how far he was thinking ahead of giving women and encouraging women to come into science as well. Father also knew that science and technology were the only way for developing countries to come out of poverty and into richness. And thus he championed the cause of science and technology across the developing world. But he never forgot his roots and always traveled to Pakistan to be with the people and his family. And while certain parts of the Pakistan government refused to acknowledge him in public, in private they always asked him for help, advice and guidance, and he never refused. In amongst his papers here in the house, we have a letter from General Zia, probably the most ardent anti-Ahmadi head of government, head of state. Personal handwritten letter from General Zia to my father in 1984, 1985, asking him for help on a specific issue. So I just wanted to leave that put into context for you, how he never turned his back on Pakistan. And it was only some politicians who had to play the games of disassociating themselves from him. But he always remained loyal to the very end. My father, of course, was extremely fortunate and blessed to have mentors of the caliber of Sir Muhammad Zafrullah Khan Sahib, Mir Muzaffar Ahmad Sahib, and of course the prayers and mentorship of the Khulafa. His relationship with these men is a whole topic in itself, which we'll leave for another day. But let me just leave you with an impassioned plea my father made in April 1984 to the UNESCO board. And he said, "Believe me, there are high creatures of science among us, but among our youth in particular, they have the strongest urge to join in the adventure of knowledge. Trust them. Their Islam is as deeply founded, their appreciation of the spiritual values of the Holy Book are as profound as anyone else's. Provide them with the facilities to create science and its limitations from the inside. Truly, there is no disconsonance between Islam and modern science." And at the end of this day, this is what the Salam Science Fair is trying to do. May Allah bless all the participants, the boys and the girls, the organizers and all those involved. May they achieve and exceed the standard heights my father reached, and may they be true servants of Islam and humanity. My humble thanks to you all for so patiently listening and taking time to hear my short talk. My apologies it's been so short and I had to rustle through a number of topics in short order. And as I agreed with Dr. Saab, I'm here to answer any questions as best I can, however small, simple or trivial. I cannot do justice to his science, so I humbly request no science questions, please.
Jazakumullah, Ahmed Saab. It was very moving talk about Dr. Abdus Salam in a very, very loving way you have expressed about your father. I'm really moved how you had discussed his life and your love for him. May Allah Ta'ala bless Dr. Abdus Salam Sahib the highest status in paradise. And may Allah Ta'ala enable you and your family to continue his mission. Dr. Saab, there are only few questions which we have right now. One is, what is the greatest impact in your own life and in the life of your siblings which Dr. Abdus Salam Sahib have made during his life?
The greatest impact is, I think it's actually very simple. It is Ahmadiyya, it's Islam, but ultimately it's the relationship with the Khulafa. To my father, because I was so fortunate whenever Khalifa bin Amullah was here and my father was here, I would go to every mulaqat with my father and to sit and watch Khalifa Rabi and my and come back to them. If we do the other questions first, we can come back to this if you permit me.
And the other question came from another student. Actually, he just graduated. He said that what are the primary habits of your father do you find you have inculcated in yourself and have helped you?
Sorry, I lost the last bit of the question.
Okay. This student asks that what are the primary habits of your father? Do you find you have inculcated in yourself that has helped you? So probably they're asking that those habits which are inculcated by Dr. Saab.
Oh, that's a very interesting question, a very difficult question.
I think Dr. Saab's internet probably is.
He's having audio problems, so I guess be patient here.
Right.
Assalamualaikum. I'm back again.
Okay, Jazakallah.
I'm sorry, I dropped my internet connection. I don't know what happened.
Okay, no problem. Doctor, you were responding to that question about the habits which Dr. Saab's habit which you have inculcated in you, and how they led you to this.
I think I mentioned the respect for the institution of Khilafat, love for the institution of Khilafat, but also on a more practical level, it's to value time and to not waste time, and to my father was the most simple being out there, and he was simple in every part of his life, from his clothes to everything about him. And I try now at this stage in my life
I think we're having audio problem again.
Yeah, I think we're back on again.
Okay, exactly. Okay, Dr. Next question is, please go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if there's another question, otherwise, with your permission, I could read the article by Khalifa Rabi, if we have time.
Yeah, sure, please. We have one more question, but you can go ahead, please read that.
This was at the first anniversary of my father's death. The center in Trieste changed the name from the International Center for Theoretical Physics to the Abdus Salam Center for Theoretical Physics. And at that time, they invited the family, so the whole family went over to Italy, and Hazur was asked to, he was invited as well, but obviously could not travel. So he sent a message, which is a very short message, but because very often people ask, how would you encapsulate the relationship between your father and the Khulafa? And I think this just sums it up just perfectly. So Hazur wrote, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, ever merciful, I take this opportunity to express my gratitude to the administrators of the International Center for Theoretical Physics, the conveners of this conference, and to all the delegates who took time to come to pay tribute to the cherished memory of the late Professor Abdus Salam. I express my gratitude once again to the organizing body for providing me with the singular satisfaction of being associated with this auspicious occasion in the honor of a unique man of genius. I knew him from my childhood, but only in a way that a child would know of stars. There was nothing intimate and personal in our relationship, which began in earnest as late as 1978 during my holiday visit to North America and Europe. When Professor Salam learned of my arrival in London with my wife and two elder daughters, he insisted I find time to visit his home. And perhaps he had in mind the intimacy and love with which my late mother always treated his wife when she was a young student at Qadian, prior to the partition of India and Pakistan. His wife, Antal Hafiz Begum, was even more keen for me and my family to spend a few leisurely hours at home with their family. And while the ladies were busy chatting together in another room, Professor Salam and I were closeted together in his personal room. And it was then, for the first time, that we developed a deep, personal, intellectual, spiritual, cordial relationship which was to last until his death. His death left me mourning the departure of a most charming person whose interest was not confined to any single field of human inquiry. During that meeting, I discovered him in the broadest perspective in which he deserved to be discovered. He knew religion, he understood the philosophy of cryptic Sufism, his knowledge of history was wide and profound. Theoretical physics was his subject. That was not the only subject of which he had a masterly command. His profound knowledge of chemistry, biology, and the universe of subparticles was amazing. His intimacy with cosmology was no less surprising. And when it came to the vastness of nature and its oneness with the attributes of God, it was there that he outshone all other fields of his intellectual pursuit. The theory of the unified field must have sprung from his total dedication to the unity of God. He had a firm belief that everything began with Allah and will end up with Allah. This might have motivated him to scientifically prove the hypothesis of the unification of the fundamental forces of nature. During our discussions, he revealed to me that he had already advanced his research to demonstrate the unity of two other fundamental forces, and had his life permitted, I'm sure he would have received another Nobel Prize for his advanced work in this field. This short tribute to the memory of his genius is not meant to dwell upon his scientific achievements. I want to share with this august assembly today a few glimpses of Dr. Abdus Salam, a man who did not hesitate to discuss immense complexities of his advanced scientific knowledge with an uninitiated, ignorant person like I was. He took pains to make me understand why the speed of light could not exceed 186,000 miles per second. I continue to argue that under certain hypothetical conditions, the speed of light could be enhanced beyond this limitation. His tolerance with me during this course of the discussion, while I was a mere novice on the subject of theoretical physics, was a great tribute to his patience and grand-heartedness. At the end, however, he cautiously conceded that if, as I suggested, the properties of the medium which facilitate maximum speed of light could be visualized to be different, speed of light would correspondingly change, even transcending the present limitation. It was not his personal conviction, of course. His acceptance was conditional only to the big if involved. But he accepted my suggestion, realizing that perhaps the real implication of my suggestion was related to the limitless attributes of God. Among many questions I raised to quench my thirst for knowledge was one regarding the incomprehensible nature of heat radiation. Travel at the speed of light as though riding its wings, yet it could also move so slowly as to take ages to reach the other end of a large room. If a fire is lit in one corner of a big hall, people sitting in the other corner would hardly feel any heat emitted by the fire. This and many other intriguing questions were raised by me and answered by him in full. To the question of heat radiation, he answered, as though in a confidential tone, that the one thing that even scientists failed to understand was the true nature of heat. And it was during this fascinating informal talk I came to learn the vastness of Dr. Abdus Salam. It was in that unique vastness that his genius lay. Ever since that meeting, we were never separated again. He continued to seek my interview to help him resolve various problems which confronted him from time to time, and I never failed to make the best use of such meetings to enhance my personal knowledge. His philanthropist attitude was boundless. It was truly universal without the least parochialism. No religious, political, ethnic, or nationalistic boundaries were charted on his purely human heart. The International Center for Theoretical Physics in Trieste has always paid and will always pay a standing ovation to the humanist in Abdus Salam. May Allah bless his soul in the hereafter, and may he bless the noble objectives he pursued in the vastness of the material world he has left behind.
Jazakallah for sharing such a beautiful and such a living letter which Hazrat Khalifatul Masih wrote to him. Dr. We have few more questions which came. One is, do you have any sibling that is scientist?
No, I have to say this. I always believe that, well, my father tried to bring science into me from a very, very young age. So I did economics. My younger brother did mathematics, but then gave it up to do economics as well, which is not my influence. He did it by himself. But my eldest sister did biochemistry, so that was the closest we had. And then one of my sons has done chemistry. We have no physicists in the family.
MashaAllah. So the other question is that why Dr. Abdus Salam Sahib's discovery is not part of the curriculum of high schools, and many people are not aware of that. So this is also asked by a student.
It's an interesting subject, and I don't actually have an answer for it. I guess the people who write the curriculum should be the ones who answer that, that question.
The other question came is that were there any practical tactics that Dr. Salam Sahib used that helped him to achieve more in less time?
He had a great God-given ability to speed read. He could finish books so quickly. He could literally read page upon page upon page, and that was Allah's gift. It's another one of those gifts from Allah the Almighty that my father was so blessed with. I don't think you can teach somebody how to speed read and digest information as quickly as he did. He had that absolute incredible ability to do that.
There are many more questions, but I think with the time limitation, and I can understand the difference, 5-hour difference in the time zone between you and us.
Dr. Saab, I'm available. We can pick up another session, or if you want to carry on for a few minutes now, I'm happy to carry on.
Yeah, sure. I think it would be a great idea that we can have another session with students alone, and they can have more insight from you about the life of Dr. Abdus Salam Sahib and the inspiration that they can get. Really
that would be my pleasure. My pleasure.
Jazakallah once again, Dr. Saab, for sparing your time in the busy schedule and joining us on such a short notice and sharing the life of Nobel laureate, who we all admire, and we pray for him that may Allah Ta'ala enable us to fulfill the desire of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih III, that we have many more Ahmadis who follow the footsteps of Dr. Abdus Salam and become the Nobel Prize winners.
Dr. Saab, this is Ral Khan Malik. On behalf of Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat Canada, I would also like to thank Abdus Salam Sahib for sparing time for joining us in this Abdus Salam Science Fair. Thank you very much. Jazakumullah ta'ala asnal jaza.
It's an absolute pleasure. I'm at your disposal. Anytime you need me, it'd be an honor and a pleasure to come back.
Inshallah, we would like to avail your offer on some other time when we can have some more time with you. We look forward to it. Thank you.
Inshallah.
Jazakallah. Now we'll move to the next segment of the program.
So I think next we have, I think the closing remarks by respected Amir Saib. I just wanted to mention that we have invited all the winning students to join the Zoom link, the Zoom meeting. So, if Amir Saab wants to have a chat with any of them, that is also possible. Most of them, I think, have joined the Zoom link. And at this point, I invite respected Amir Saib to confer the award virtually. I mean, this is the best we can do. I know in a real scenario, Amir Saab hands them over the awards or their prizes, but here maybe Amir Saab can pray for all these students and verbally, just virtually confer the awards on all these students, and then his closing remarks. Jazakallah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Respected guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace and blessings of God be upon you all. I am delighted to join the virtual award ceremony of 13th annual Abdus Salam Science Fair. I thank all the dignitaries for taking out the time from their busy schedules to join us today. Our honored guests include federal and provincial members of parliament, local council members, and members of academia. My sincere thanks to all the guests, as well to those who sent us kind messages for this event, including the Right Honorable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada. I also acknowledge the presence of respected Abdus Salam Sahib, son of Professor Dr. Abdus Salam. He has joined us from the UK. It's a matter of great pride and pleasure that the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat Canada is holding the award ceremony of the 13th annual Abdus Salam Science Fair for the year 2021 under the supervision of the Education Department of the Jamaat. This National Science Fair is held to commemorate the well-recognized contributions of Nobel laureate Dr. Abdus Salam towards science, as well as to promote and inculcate scientific thinking and methodology among the students. Moreover, it provides a platform for the students to exhibit their skills, ideas, aspirations, and also win prizes. Dr. Abdus Salam was the first Pakistani to win the Nobel Prize in 1979 in physics for his contribution to the unification of electromagnetic force and weak nuclear force. Dr. Salam made a number of very many other important contributions to different fields of physics and maths. Apart from his scientific contributions, he played a big role in encouraging the youth from his native Pakistan, as well as other developing countries of the world, to pursue and excel in sciences. Dr. Salam stands as a giant in his contributions to science and to the development of science in third world countries. Alhamdulillah. Respected ladies and gentlemen, it is worthy of special mention that Islam puts a great deal of emphasis on education. The first revelation to the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of God be upon him, was read in the name of your Lord who created. Muslims are enjoined to acquire knowledge even if they have to travel to far distances. Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat also puts great emphasis on education. As such, various programs are operated under the Education Department, such as award of gold medals for outstanding students from grade 12 to PhD in Canada. There are, in addition, 45 scholarships in various undergraduate and graduate programs, and in addition, this science fair, to name just a few. We urge all Ahmadiyya Muslim students to ensure that they reach their full potential in their educational pursuits and thus contribute in the development of science and technology of tomorrow. At the end, I pray that Allah may enable these young scientists to further enhance their knowledge and pursue higher education. May Allah reward all the volunteers and organizers of this event for their hard work and their dedication. Ameen. I congratulate all the winners of the 13th Abdus Salam Science Fair. May Allah enable them to reach the heights of their educational goals and enable them to fulfill the desire of Sayyidina Hazrat Qibatul Masih V May Allah be his helper to win the Nobel Prize. With this, I confer the awards to the winners. Jazakumullah. And Dr. Hamid Mirza Sahib, now, what do you want? Do we have the silent prayer now, or we have something else to do before we have the silent prayer?
We have just a brief vote of thanks and then inshallah the silent prayer.
Okay.
Jazakumullah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the ever merciful. Honored guests, respected Amir Sahib, our young scientists, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessing of Allah be upon you. On behalf of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, I would like to express my sincere gratitude and heartfelt thanks for joining us at the 13th Abdus Salam Science Fair. This is indeed a difficult period in human history, with numerous challenges that are being faced on almost all fronts. At the same time, it has provided many opportunities to connect and organize events in a more innovative manner. Thus, the 13th Abdus Salam Science Fair is a unique in the sense that we have for the first time participation in the science fair from across the country. It was a true national science fair this is. I want to congratulate and express my heartfelt thanks to secretaries of the education of all chapters in Canada for their contribution to make this year's science fair a true national Abdus Salam Science Fair. I would like to express my profound gratitude to the Right Honorable Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, for his special message to participants of the Abdus Salam Science Fair. Similarly, I am very grateful to the Premier of Ontario, the Honorable Doug Ford, and several members of the federal and provincial parliaments who sent their messages and congratulatory videos. My very special thanks to our honored guests who took time off from their very busy schedule to join us today in a live ceremony at the Abdus Salam Science Fair. I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to respected Lal Khan Malik Sahib, the Amir or the President of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, for his continuous and sustained support for Abdus Salam Science Fair and education in general. My special thanks to all participants, visitors of the science fair, all students from all over Canada for spending significant amount of time in order to prepare their projects and presentations. Actually, you all are winners who have submitted their projects. I am grateful to our youth organization, Ladies Association, especially all the volunteers who spent endless hours in the preparation and execution of this science fair, judges and audio-video team, GS office, and all others who supported and helped in various ways. I have a long list of those individuals and also the sponsor who sponsored one of the area of this project. Few individuals in the organization team helped beyond the call of duty. Among them, Dr. Amir Minhas Khan Sahib, the coordinator of this year's science fair. He spent countless hours in organizing the event. Nabil Rana Sahib and Zafar Nadeem Sahib for outstanding outreach services, Amjad Ahmed Sahib for internal publicity, Shahid Mirza Sahib for extraordinary support on website, technical and other areas. The team of Nabil Rana Sahib and Shahid Mirza Sahib for hosting service today, which we have all witnessed. There are many, many more names I wish to mention. However, due to the time constraint, I request you to kindly remember them in your prayers. Finally, our keynote speaker, respected Abdus Salam Sahib, who joined us from UK, despite his very busy schedule and 5-hour time difference. I'm really grateful for his time and joining us. We received 147 videos for the science project, and the top 5 Jamaat who participated is Brampton West with 47 projects, Toronto West 16 projects, Vaughan and Calgary 15 projects each, and Saskatoon 10 projects. I'm sure that everyone has enjoyed today, and I hope next year, inshallah, will come with even larger numbers and more exciting ideas. This I would like also to mention that it was the desire of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih, the third Rahmullah Ta'ala, to have 100 Ahmadis who will become the prominent in the field of science as Professor Dr. Abdus Salam Sahib. So for this reason, we organize various activities, including this Abdus Salam Science Fair, so that it can inspire our students. I will encourage my young scientists to take full advantage of what Canada offers us in the scientific field and realize your full potential. Jazakumullah. And again, I would like to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule for this very important event. May Allah Ta'ala be with you. Ameen. Jazakumullah. Ahsanul Jaza. Now I request respected Mir to please lead us into silent prayer.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Please join me in the silent prayer that Allah may bless this Abdus Salam Science Fair and Allah may enable us to achieve the objectives of this fair. Dua kar lein. Ameen. Allahumma ameen. Jazakumullah ta'ala asn jaza.
Jazakumullah.
So, Dr. Sahab, this is the end of our program.
Now students are with us, those who won the prizes, and we were thinking that some media will join us and they would have some opportunity to talk with them. But if you wish to express any
if I request to leave, leave. Bi amanillah.
Okay. Jazakallah. Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Okay, I think so we can conclude the program at this point if there's not anything else. And Jazakallah for everybody joining. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.